6:00, so I'm going to call this meeting to order.
Yeah.
Welcome and good evening, everyone. This meeting is being recorded using all technology and will be placed on the city's YouTube channel. Roll call, please, and state your name.
Tom, you're here. Right here.
Catherine Pasha here.
Big Wolf here.
Miriam, you're right here. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4. Need approval of the consent agenda. Any questions on what's contained in the consent agenda?
All motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to number 5, the report. I don't see the sheriff's deputies, so library. Kathy?
Kathy May, Fairfax Public Library Director. I really don't have anything. My minutes are there and the synopsis from our 2 brainstorming sessions are included. Anybody have any questions for me?
Beth, you had mentioned something, I was reading in the minutes, something about not wanting to post the salaries or something like that, or what's going on there?
Well, the concern was that the library is the only one that's gross salaries are published. So we were just talking about why it was the library's gross.
Everybody's salary is published.
Total net payroll is in every claims list.
Okay.
Everybody's gross is published with February minutes once a year.
Right, here, but yeah,
You guys aren't published anywhere.
well, they're on our claim sheet every month, so it is.
Okay, but that's not published. That's in the packet.
Well, it's in, okay.
It's not in the newspaper.
Well, no, I know, I'm.
Any other questions for Kathy? Okay, fire department?
Hello. We went on run number 273 for the year today. Everything's been moving along pretty smoothly, I think. We had some training last night for about 3 hours. Had a pretty good turnout for that. Right now, we're in the ground level of, excuse me, got a cough. Getting some prices on replacing one of our trucks that is 20 years old this year. So we have a truck committee together to see, to see if that's something that we'll be able to do in the future. Right now, it takes anywhere from 2 to 3.5 years to get a fire truck if you order one. The last department that over in Ely is on the verge of ordering one, it's gonna be 44 months before they receive it. And for those of you that have been around a long time, Mary Ann.
That's nice of you.
We've always been on a schedule that we like to, NFPA likes you to keep your trucks no longer than 20 years on your reserves. On your reserves, they can be a little bit longer. That means this one is a reserve pumper, but a main tanker. We haven't really been that concerned about being in a real big hurry to replace it, especially when I found out how much the price of fire trucks just went up. So right now we're at ground level, trying to put some specs together and some numbers. When we come up with something, I'll let you know what we came up with, if it's something that we as a fire department think is necessary, that we go that route. And some numbers and a time frame and see what happens. Excuse me again. The one truck right now, we're paying on two of our engines. So those are our newest trucks. And I think we have about maybe 1 or 2 more payments left on the 2015, and then the other one we have 7 years left on it, so
Spain, do you have any idea what this truck would be worth?
Our current one that we're wanting to replace, I would love to be able to tell you $150,000. But who knows nowadays? The last one we got that was 20, the last two we got that were 20 years old, we got like 55,000 for them. And I don't know, I haven't even got that far feeling out to see what it is worth, but
You might get more since
Yeah, you
people
never
can't
know
spend and
nowadays.
buy new.
we were pretty lucky on the last two that we sold because it just so happened the one fire department, theirs blew up. So they had to have one like right away. I don't know if you remember that, but we actually sold it before the other one came in because we were just trying to. We knew it was sold and we took our money and ran, but I haven't really got that far on that, but I'm gonna put the relays out there. We're putting a truck committee together, so I'll have them do that also to see about maybe what the value of what we have is. And who knows, there might be a number that comes in and I might veto the whole thing and say, there ain't no way, because I was just telling our guys over here, the truck that we bought 3 years ago is now worth $1.2 million if you bought it today, and it takes 44 months to get.
What was it when we got 700?
Yeah.
What does that affect, Spanky? It gets to the point where it affects our insurance, doesn't
And
it?
well, when you try to keep everything up to date like what we do, and the water department and fire department and everybody works together, and if everything is updated and maintained, then it helps with your insurance rate, and I think we're at a 3. Lynn, is that correct? Something like that, 3 or 4. So the lower that number is, then the cheaper your homeowner's insurance is. So, and we keep a lot of documentation, and we do a lot of things that Joe Public has no idea that we do, to really work on maintaining that low rating for our insurance purposes.
Even if
I
you're a staff department,
mean,
we couldn't probably get any lower than what we got right now.
no,
Without
we
being
probably got.
full-time.
Even if we were full-time, it would take more than that to get us to the next level.
I mean, Cedar Rapids, I think, is only one ahead of us.
Yeah. So we're
So
darn
we're
good.
do pretty good for what we've got, so.
Every-
Well, we worked hard at it for a long time.
Every time we inspect it, I'm pretty nervous we're gonna lose that.
Yeah, that's one thing you don't ever want to fall back either.
Yes. I get pretty nervous.
But yeah. So we're just working on that, trying to, like I say, we're just gonna put some numbers together. And see what we can come up with. A lot of times we had a spec truck actually here, what was that, Mark, 2 months ago?
Yeah, these.
If we would have had $384 sitting in a savings account. That truck was a spec truck and they were taking it out, and that's what that truck was for sale for. And, but to build that truck, add another $150,000 to it.
At least.
But that was at that time, because we asked him about if it was gonna be for sale, and he said, well, it is, but the last department I was at or whatever bought it or something, so. Now if you wanted it, jack up the price. So we're hoping to maybe find a situation where there's something like that available also, if it meets our criteria. But I know there's a lot of paperwork to do before you get that far, but we're just looking right now. Just kind of throwing it out there so everybody knows what's going on. And maybe it won't work. Maybe you guys will say no. Yeah. It's got, oh, and our elections are coming up too, so you could have a new fire chief. next week.
Yeah, I'm sure. Are you going door to door?
No way. Yeah, I'm going door to door to say no. Anybody have anything else for me? Okay, thanks for your service.
You're welcome, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Building department, Chris?
Crystal Bill Department, had a little uptick in
Single family going on, quick fall. I have another one I'm still working on. We have in Heartland Heights, the P and Z meeting, they did come up with two primary structures on the industrial and commercial districts. You'll be setting a public hearing date for that tonight. Zach attended the meeting. He has some new building type designs. He is interested in building Fairfax. They won't meet current zoning. So the zoning board is gonna be working on that for the next foreseeable future. We had the one notice sent Wild Rose. And that's that same little alleyway that another neighbor was driving in 6 months ago. That's about it. Three.
You have another topic later on, don't you, Chris?
Yeah, the sidewalk stuff's on the.
Maintenance department, Lynn.
Lynn's ordered maintenance departments. Like the last month or so, we've been doing a lot of parts winterizing to get the buildings and so forth, ready for winter. All the water shut off, all the parts and the complex is kind of crap. Insulation's back up now. The heaters are all working, which is very good. With that, the splash pad, here we got done, it's winterized. We have to do a little more work on the screen. It'll kind of glitch again and the controls, but we got that fixed. Gardner got tilled up, after they were done with it, so we'll retill them again in the spring probably, but everything's cleaned up for the winter, at least up. Over at, Heartland Heights, the new park, remember, I think last month or month before, it said we didn't get that grant. So we did have money in our budget, so we did plant, I think we did, what, 7, 8 trees up there, something like that. So they're kind of scattered in, and that's probably plenty for that park, so that's all ready to go for the next spring. And we also added two of them at the library, transit from the building. So the other thing we've been doing last week mainly is at the complex. We did a lot of trail problem fix on the trail, so how many yards was that, Brian? 22 yards. The concrete we replaced out there from damaged spots, tripping hazards and so forth, and we got probably about a third of that left to do, maybe in spring as weather permits. Hopefully we'll get that done before the park gets busy. The can lights in the complex, we have had issues on and off their last 2-3 years with those kind of all the way around the building. Got open Nelson Electric and they give you a price and get them all replaced. We just went all with new LEDs underneath the can lights, so that's all up and ready for next spring also. If you didn't see in the correspondence, there was a bridge report, so hopefully that was kind of clear. It's kind of the same as what it was before, maybe a little worse. But if you got questions on that, I think Shane will make the answer. And then the last thing, just for another awareness, is the railroad crossing again. We had the gentleman took out his jacks again on the truck here this week, so I think he called City Hall and kind of complained, but that in there. The week before, I think we had 3 got caught, no one complained to us. Every week we've been, this fall, it seems like about every week, anywhere from 2 to 3 trucks we get pieces from. So it ain't getting any better, it seems to be getting worse also. And I don't know why. But something to think about. Anyways, we really haven't got stuff ready for winter yet, and so hopefully we'll get that soon with the trucks, but. Any questions for me?
I have a question, I don't know if it's you or Brian, the trail that's in the big park, how thick is the concrete? And are we driving on it with vehicles that maybe should not be on it?
So the main part from, the east parking lot all the way to where the fireworks pad used to be, that was poured thicker intentionally from the get-go.
everything else was not there. There's no reinforcement into the trail whatsoever. And that's half the issue.
But if you're just walking on it or riding a bicycle, it shouldn't need to be reinforced. So that's my question, is what are we driving on it?
Every year we have the Halloween thing, everybody drives on it. The
Why?
vehicles, I don't know.
I just backed my van.
The vehicles, maintenance vehicles drive it, they get marked here, there, whatever. It does get drove on with mainly pickups. Some of the driving on the very back of it, near the road, the very first year, ITC, they have an easement for all their lines along them tracks. They came in, they didn't even know the trail was there. They had all their big crane trucks through there, and their heavy equipment through there. And we had discussion, but some of that could have been caused from them. I don't think nothing appeared after that. But you get a hairline fracture, and it can take a long time before it shows up and gets bad. But a lot of it's movement with the concrete.
So far, all the pieces between the last 2 years that we've replaced has been where they were supposed to go so many feet, put a cold joint, start again, so it's got compression. I don't think those were installed correctly. So
They're even.
during the heat time, they're binding on each other, which is causing the fractures. And it seems like it goes a couple panels for each one of those. So we've been replacing those because they're getting to be where the trip hazards for anybody walking. Re-put the new one in, because once we do it this way, there's no. Cause they would put it in and then start pouring right away again. So it was like a mini stop. Wait 5 minutes and take off, and a lot of times that does not work very well. So,
With that, every area that we pulled out, what, 5 inches?
oh yeah, it's all at least 5, yeah, but it's.
Except for that one main part, and I think
That's
that eight?
closer to 8, yeah,
if I remember.
but it's all getting put in deeper into the rainforest,
Yeah.
so it will be there for a long time.
Everything that we've been doing, we've been putting water in it and there. So,
I guess as a reminder, maybe we need to post signs, but they should not be driving on it. Well, there's some kind of medical emergency, no one should be on the sidewalk.
that's part of even when vehicles, even like the Oxford Trail being narrow up there, like we talked about before we built it. The trucks that we get access to, the pickups, they're off the trail, they're driving on the edge. The vehicles won't fit on it.
Was that one designed for them to drive on it, one up at Oxford?
We poured it thicker, we put water in it. It's just narrow.
Running one of the 9 foot. With a 9 foot, you guys are requesting on that or something like that.
Yeah. I think it was 9.
I think it was 10, we put in at 8.
We put an 8 7.
Not yet, that issue, so every time you drive on it, you leave a clip, it squishes the dirt in. Now you got dirt in that.
But one down off.
Yeah,
2 people there.
yeah, which was the new rates.
It's hard to do in one way.
Yeah,
Wasn't there a piece of equipment that we're talking about they're using for the parks? For the trails, I thought we were talking about, you had something that you could use up there.
for cleaning the trails for winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have skid loader, we have Ventric, the Kubota. So we do have some smaller pieces of equipment, so it doesn't have to be plowed with a pickup, and I prefer not plowed with a pickup.
Okay.
Because we're gonna be tearing the grass, we're gonna be mudding it up, it's gonna be bad.
So you don't necessarily use the pickup, but you have other options.
We have other options.
Okay. And also maybe with down at the complex too, then.
Yes,
It's more so for the heavy items in the summertime, getting stuff to the back. If you had a pickup or some truck to get some heavy items to the back, then you either got it be all the way in the grass, hopefully the grass holds up, or you're on the trail, that block the trail, so you're only making half these. Just to get stuff back there, if you can't, do like a bank tractor, Kubota, or small trailer, or whatever.
and just for like Oxford, which we haven't had to do it since it's been poured. We did the bar before that, I don't think we did any after that so far, but to get the playground park. That we dump up there every year to get around the playground equipment. The back area, we will probably use on average. Anywhere from 4 to 7 dump truck loads of the playground park back there. Every year. So how do we get that back? Small equipment. So
That's why.
So when you do that, you drive on the sidewalk?
You have no other choice.
Why don't you just drive on the grass?
You have to cross the sidewalk to get there.
You have to cross the sidewalk, but you're not driving on it.
No matter what you do, you gotta drive on that, figure it out.
We think about a dump trailer or actual dump truck?
Could be either. We have both, so can be either.
It's not enough possible, because we don't have to go back.
No, we don't have to fix that. We don't have the time to fix stuff like that. We can try to, we can do it when we can.
I just, it's easier to fix grass than it is to replace the sidewalk, I guess my point.
Yeah. But yeah, if you walk up there, you can't get to any playground without crossing that and driving on that trail.
Anything else?
No.
Thanks.
Hey, water and wastewater, looks like Brian.
Yes, ma'am. Brian, water, wastewater. I guess I'll start off with probably everybody's asking us how the water tower's going. It's not going as planned. They did get the blasting done yesterday and first coat time. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think I know. Three more coats. So, and is it one a day at the best? One a day at the best, so they need 3 good days. Whether we're gonna get that or not, we'll see. It doesn't look good. So what's gonna happen, I don't know. We had, the other day we've been having some scattered issues with it, trying to chase water quality and, whatnot with that. The other day we had a problem when we were trying to pour the trail that they took the bonnet off and supposedly didn't hit anything, but they hit the receiver up on top, and therefore the ground storage and the rest of the system wasn't communicating, so the pump ramps up and down to keep pressure in the system. When it doesn't read it, it just sits at one speed. As people use more water, the pressure goes down. We started getting phone calls. Luckily, we were around to be able to deal with it. We didn't go low enough to be in trouble, so they would get the wells going enough that we were safe. And then we had to troubleshoot it, which took the majority of the rest of the day, which resulted in we had to climb over to the top of the tower and readjust the receiver to point back where it was at. But we expected everything going up in case there was some other issue, whether it was a PLC or something to that effect, but that's what it turned out to be. So we got that fixed, everything was going good. So far, everything's been going good, with that stuff, but,
Are they planning on working Saturday then to get it done?
they're gonna work every day that they can. They're allowed to work Sundays as long as they weren't making a bunch of noise. We're past the noise part now, so any day that they can work, that the weather's fit to allow them, let's go. So that hopefully they'll get it done.
They should be done then by this weekend.
Well, hopefully tomorrow or today.
A windy day, Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday is gonna be windy, so there's requirements. They can't be up and doing stuff when it's windy. So that's been the biggest hiccup since
The wind.
just the timing. It's the wind's been, they've been really good days and warm days. It's just been too windy for them to be up there to climb around. So they've had to forego warm days just because it's too windy.
So what happens then if it rains Monday, Tuesday, and then the temps drop like they're supposed to and stay that cold? What are you gonna do?
Ooh, they may have to pull out and stop.
So who makes that? Do you guys make that decision then?
Well, it's just, it is where it is. Temperatures aren't high enough, so, I mean, if by some miracle we get a warm up, say, in December, they can certainly come back and work that.
So you're
It's
just gonna have them leave all their
They
stuff up
basically
there,
are-
or what happens, I guess? is what I'm asking.
Basically, it's day by day until April or something, when the weather gets warmer, so.
There becomes one problem. At what point do we fill the tower? Do we fill the tower? It's not completed. It's gotta be drained again before they can continue. So we don't wanna have to do this again. Once the tower gets filled, we're gonna have to wait.
That's in the temperature difference and stuff with the water in there,
So
mess with the thing.
because of the temperature of the water,
Yeah.
it's gonna It'll have to be dry.
Well, it'll be a community thing with the water being
Condensation.
Yeah, condensation and whatnot, so there's requirements for that as well.
So my suggestion is we don't wait another month or 2 months and just stay on pressure mode, waiting for this to happen. If it's not gonna happen, they need to call it so we can get the tower built.
That's exactly what I'm asking.
Exactly.
And that's
Yes.
what Tim Wilson's here tonight for questions or concerns. He's overseeing it, he's with Dixon, he's part of that.
So starting next week, though, it looks like the temperatures stay relatively cold. It doesn't look like it warms up again, so.
Right.
I mean, they're saying next Tuesday, high near 45 degrees, and they might probably be a little too cold, I think.
Or is that, do we need to talk about that now, or is that on the agenda somewhere else, or?
Not on the agenda.
What's the issue long-term as far as painting on?
For stakeholder, where the warranty.
Yeah, I mean, if it's cold temperatures when you're applying it and we don't see the adverse effects until years down the road, is that a possibility? I mean,
The product data sheets for each coat of paint that's yet to be applied specifies the substrate and the ambient conditions that the paint needs to be applied in. And they wouldn't apply outside those windows of the product data sheet. So, we're getting, you know, as Lynn mentioned, as Brian mentioned, and as Kevin mentioned, the temperatures have been very conducive over the last couple of weeks, surprisingly. We all got together and visited late October, early November, and it didn't look very promising that particular week because it was cold. They're blessed with warm weather, but the wind has wreaked havoc with their containment system. And it is difficult for them to be applying paint with the containment down. Even if they roll every coat, any stray drip of paint is going to carry a very long distance in this wind. And they're trying to prevent collateral damage to the neighborhood, basically paint all over everything. So they're only painting when the wind is allowable to keep the containment up. And the temperatures need to remain both ambient and substrate temperatures. This next coat requires 50 degrees during the day. Air and substrate and the steel temps. And that's really what the problem starts to. The next coats do allow for air temperature to be colder, but the substrate, you start to lose steel temperature and then you're outside that window as well. So there is a lot of bowling pins being juggled. Once in a while, we light one on fire. They're certainly running out of windows of opportunity to finish the project yet this fall.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you have an inspector up there checking all that.
Yes.
Continuously, so.
Yes.
Oh, they're doing monitoring on Dixon's part, but also.
2 coats of primer, then a final coat, or what?
There's one coat of prime, there's an intermediate coat of epoxy, an intermediate coat of urethane, and then a top coat. Or a 4 coat of 4 polymer. So there are 3 coats left to be applied. The prime coat is 100% applied.
I mean, according to the National Weather Service, tomorrow's 67, and then you're shot. Because they say it's 47, gonna be 47 on Friday. So he says it's got 53, and that's rather kind of out of luck.
so what kind of warranty is there down the road for such variables? And understand you won't spray underneath a certain temperature, but what is their long term as far as if there's issues with the paint or the primer?
I haven't seen a coating manufacturer yet. If an issue arises that is deemed to be a coating problem, I haven't seen a coating manufacturer not stand by the coating. Arguably, however, most of the problems that develop are an application problem, where a contractor applied outside the variables that are listed, and that's what we're here to talk about. So, you know, if they're developed a problem later on coating that was applied according to the product data sheet and met all of those specifications, I haven't seen a coating manufacturer not stand behind that at any period of time.
Is there an issue then if we, so say they have 1 coat on now, they get maybe 1 more coat on if they can work tomorrow? And then it's too windy or Thursday and too cold moving forward. So you only end up with 2 of the 4 coats on. So is there a problem with that being exposed over the winter months and not having the other coats on top, does that affect?
The recoat window, we refer to that as the recoat window, so the period of time that must pass between coats. There is no maximum recoat window on the coating system that they're using, so they will be able to, in a sense, pick up where they left off once the weather conditions improve. But there will be requirements from us that will require them to clean that surface and possibly upgrade that surface, so that that next coat of paint has good coating to stick to as it builds out.
There's two. Two main on this. So, and they're gonna be required to come back a year. And if there are workmanship issues arise, probably gonna happen sooner than 2 years. It's gonna happen within that means, so we are protected in that regard. And Brian, these guys have been tracking their time related to extra work on their end due to contractor delays, so we have leverage if we do want to go after LDs later. That'll be a discussion for another meeting. See how this unfolds. I mean, they're already 3.5 weeks past completion date. Right now, these are $1,000 a day. They jumped off another $500 a day after November 20th.
So at what point, I mean, or when do you anticipate, I think we'd like to know when you're going to make a decision, so this doesn't hang out here with all the sheeting, the curtain, all that stuff up. You know, if the forecast looks like it's gonna stay like this for 30 days, do you tell them you've got a week or two, or do you just say we're done, or I think we'd all kind of like to know what that looks like
Yeah, the dog park, we want water in this cover.
Yes. before winter.
And that's a conversation that, yeah, we'll all need to have to come to terms with what that date is.
Then even at that time, we've already discussed, you know, right now they got cables, so the access to the building is minimal. Would be the nice side of that, and so for access for all winter, something's gotta change.
Well, we'd have to have a special meeting to discuss it unless we're gonna do something. I mean, are you anticipating you're just gonna let it hang for 30 days or?
You know, a lot of it is coordination with the contractor to see what their plan is. I know that after speaking with them yesterday, they had just completed the 100% blast and prime. I haven't gotten any feedback from them yet today. I did reach out to them this morning, but I haven't gotten any feedback from them yet today on what their intent is. And from our last meeting, when we got together, it was to understand what their intent was. If they've reached a point where they're hoping to be done for the winter season, come back in the spring. We didn't want to stand in the way of their progress when we met at the end of October. We wanted them to kind of keep going and let them sort of dictate what their schedule is going to be beyond the window that they're already in. But I understand completely that we're in a position now where we probably need to decide internally if we're at the done point or what their direction is going to be.
Which most of that with weather, really, right? You just gotta look at that.
Well, I mean, you can pull,
Weather,
I mean, if you know what the weather's the next 30 days, you can pull up the forecast and see, and if there's maybe only one day that they could work and it's 2 weeks from now, the odds of that happening are.
Yeah, correct. And back a few weeks ago when we met, the odds didn't look good in their favor then.
No, that would improve.
And then we got this nice window, so they actually did get some stuff out.
Mhm.
So weather, like always, it's unpredictable. We tried to give them benefit of the doubt, and we gave them a chance.
Our thought at the time was if they can, if all possible, get it done, that would be best for everybody involved, so that they can pull everything out for the winter and everything will be clean.
Yep.
Worst case is they have to leave some stuff here for the winter, if we clean some of it up, so that we can at least have snow cleaning access and whatnot to get in and out safe. That's something that we have to deal with. But why not give them the best opportunity to get it done and just be done if it works? Here we are.
And it's getting closer to, it could change tomorrow.
Well, and at some point, probably once obviously it doesn't look very good, if you drive by a green lollipop every day, and if that's gonna be like that through the winter. Probably need to have an explanation to residents on why it looks like that, you know, why the delay, why we started so late and why we ran.
Which Joanne,
So people understand why, right?
Joanne has mentioned that to keep the community aware, and I think there'll be more of a newsletter, maybe next month. So yeah, we'll try to keep them informed.
I just don't want it to look like that and not have them be able to work for a month because it's too cold and not have a tower built.
And even as you mentioned that, it was over the last weekend, they had started to see more comments about what's going on up there, just on the
Yeah.
social media.
They just started too late.
Yeah. So
That's
the
the
people are
problem.
starting to ask and wonder.
Yeah.
Well, the one other thing they found is when Brian, and then they climbed the tower, they found out one of our communication cables, they sandblasted a quarter of the way through it.
The same piece that I fixed, the
So
cable
that
goes through that.
whole cable all the way top to bottom has to be replaced at their expense. And sooner the better, not later. Because if that fails, we lost communication again with the booster station.
Have you addressed that with them and are they in the process
Oh,
of
they-
doing that?
Just,
I haven't
Right.
mentioned it with Tim, but that's as far as we got.
And that was just a few.
Yeah, it's, yeah. Okay, on that, we'll go quick the other rest of it. So we've been, doing some lift stations today, ran across one, some of our, monitoring equipment showed that there was an issue with one of the lift stations at Prairie View. We were able to address that. It was a float issue. But while we were there, we just happened to be lucky enough that a big slug of water came from Meadow Oaks that didn't seem right. So we went and did some more investigating, a couple manholes up the way. It was just about plugged shut. Paper collecting. So we were able to catch that before it became a problem, just by lucky chance, but. So we were able to get that all flushed out, cleaned out, should be good. I want to make some adjustments to the bottom of the manhole that was issued. There was lack of slope in one spot, so we're gonna take and just grind some of the concrete out and make it better, but probably in the spring, because it's not happening since I've been here, so we'll keep an eye on it, but when we get to the spring and whatnot, we'll get in there and fix it up and do some of that. UV gets shut down this week. Getting some plants and whatnot ready for winter garden stuff before the ground freezes, so we can avoid hitting things over the winter time. And Mike Gannon's report for the aquifer came back, basically stating that it's okay that they can put some wells over there, but if they do too much, it's really gonna seriously affect it there, so. Anybody wants to see that, we can forward it on. Except he's probably got it. The preliminary engineering report for the well field was approved, that just came in not too long ago, so that was passed. And the site plan approval for the same thing had passed, so it's up, they're moving forward with that project. And the next thing won't too long, we'll be talking about well drilling and whatnot for that, so. That's the abbreviation that I got. What? Yes, our wonderful leader is participating in our last council meeting, or his last council meeting.
And I think Kevin has a revised announcement, right? Ken?
I will at the end of the week.
Okay,
How's that?
okay.
So, okay. Anything for me?
Brian, Parks and Recreation, Joe.
Joe Cal, Parks and Rec Director. I'm gonna sit here again this month. So everything on there is pretty well self-explanatory. The Leon Evans cruise in was a little disappointing, and that had everything to do with the weather. It was just too cold and too windy. The 11th annual Haunted Trail, 2 weeks later though, was awesome. They had between 450 or 450 to 500 kids that showed up. That thing just keeps getting bigger, just like our Easter egg dash. Then just when we thought we were done with all of our outside activities, we had our first disc golf tournament on November 4th. They had 30 participants, which was a little lower than what they had thought, but at 9 o'clock in the morning when it started, it was cold. I mean, it was cold outside. It warmed up by noon and they started coming out, but still had a good turnout. we're still getting great reviews on the course. Everything seems to be going well. Looks like you want to say something.
I do, I don't want, so, kudos on all that. I think, if we're gonna do something like that again, more of a function like that, then we probably need to get some restroom facilities. I had a couple of the neighbors saying people were just utilizing the trees and different things out there, yeah.
Yeah, don't disagree on that.
So that was my only input.
Yeah, part of, and I think what it needs to be on the side of the Prairie Creek, trail that, as we get into budget, I think the Parks Board is gonna ask for us to have some sort of permanent restroom facilities at Prairie Creek Park now. Between the park, playground, the, disc golf and everything that's going on there. The fact that it's already stubbed, no one take much to put it in. I understand that there's a cost to it, but it's probably a good cost at this point for what we're gonna have out there. So, but yeah, I don't disagree. Anytime you spread it out that far, there's no facilities out there at all. There were facilities at the beginning of the course, we always have. But it's as they get going a little bit further in there. It's quite a walk. It's about an hour and a half walk, and if you're filled up on coffee, doesn't take long before.
Yeah.
It just brought
Tell
my
the cities to
attention.
stand by our.
Surprised you weren't complaining.
They don't care. The one that said go pee in the creek and go for it.
So the bottom line is that we're getting great reviews on that park all over the place. And there's some real possibilities for us to do some other things come next spring and summer and fall, similar to what we do at the complement. So, and then Saturday, December 2nd, is our first annual holiday kids craft from 1 to 3. Again, good feedback on that. We put out a note asking for people to kind of reserve their spot. We've had quite a few reserved spots already. December 8th will be the movie at the hall, Christmas movie for the kids. So those two things are very kid oriented. And then I think Lynn had mentioned that they had disked the community garden at the end of 2023. They also put in 2 more plots. So we're actually gonna double the size of the community garden for 2024. That was also a pretty good win for the community. And we've got some planning, I think, to do between now and then. There's an opportunity for us to put some raised beds in there and to make it a little more ADA compatible. So some good things happening down the parks.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. Moving on to the mayor's report. My activity report for the last month is in the packet, but I wanted to make the council aware of a topic that's come up in 2 conversations that I had recently. And that involved whether or not the city would be open to any incentives for some business opportunities. For example, one conversation was regarding the properties for sale at 513, 515. Williams Boulevard, which is the former Dairy Queen. Had a conversation with the realtor and that topic came up. And then also more recently regarding some commercial lots that are available in town. And my response to both of those inquiries was that if anyone is interested in incentives from the city, they should come to a council meeting with a plan and with an ask. And they can look at it. So I just want to make you aware that that topic's starting to pop up a little bit. Okay, engineering, James.
Shane Mix Engineering. One update from last week's meeting, we talked about the UP Railroad at Middle Street. John has been coordinating with them about that project, and we were expecting a cost estimate, hoping to get it from night. But they did tell me that they should have something by the end of November, so hopefully we'll have
city participation, the road improvements for that project, and the December meeting here.
Did they mention anything about the boom gates? For participation in that? When we were talking about raising them?
They haven't said anything yet. Maybe that's why it's taking so long. We had cost estimate. I don't know. They're getting cost back and we move forward with that, or this cost is gonna be or like, I don't know, so. They did say, even though this cost estimate is, I mean, like, assuming the costs are favorable for the city, we're still on track to start construction on that and spring. So, but I'd say if this cost estimate comes back couple $1 million or something, I don't think it's shot in that in the spring.
You still have to put it up with bidding and so forth.
Yeah, we're still trying.
Yeah, we're still in the process of getting, but that's been if it's even feasible,
Yeah.
the money.
I don't have anything else. My engineering report, doesn't have any question for me.
Okay, Shane, are you up for number 6 as well? Discussion and possible motion concerning Putnam Heights Pond area wish list.
Yeah, so Shane and Bruce, met with city staff this morning. We kind of ran through the punch list. Some things that are yet, that have been completed, some things that they're currently working on, and a few items that still need to be done. I think there's one item that they would like considered, and that's really the letter of credit. I think they'd be the city to release that. I don't know, Cynthia, that's not specifically on the agenda. Is that something that can be done with this, or?
Yeah, as long as it's considered part of the punch list.
Yeah. So they wanted the letter of credit release for the rear wall for West Pond. City staff and all reviewed that, and that's. The city recommends it. The staff recommends that the city goes ahead and releases that letter of credit for that.
We need a motion for that, Cynthia?
Yes,
We handle that.
yes.
I'm gonna make a motion to release the letter of credit.
Now I'm gonna second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, and then next month, they'll probably have several items on the agenda regarding the pond. There will be such things as, they'll probably, as you recall, a couple months ago, they requested an extension for building permits to be extended to December 31st. They'll probably request that to be extended as they finish up these punch list items. There's some design exceptions, a couple of design exceptions, and then get some clarification from the design engineers on that. There's one issue for the city ultimately accepting that property, the pond is going to be access. We gotta work through some details on how that can be met. Part of that may be put in the pedestrian bridge, the trail, there'll be some discussion on that. Then I think they also are gonna request participation on the box culvert under that trail to some level from the city. So those are a few items that'll be on next month's agenda regarding the Harborized Pond. So, and we'll continue staff, because I'm on the covered by the application. You guys have anything else for that?
So one thing that at least for council to consider, we have the bridge and we split that. That's a 50-50 cost share with the city. There is also for that trail, there's a box culvert. Off the top of my head, I have no idea. And when you want to know the number out, I don't know what it is. There's a box culvert that goes underneath that trail. And we are requesting or asking the city would help pay for half of that as well, since it is for the trail. And it's for the east-west. There's a swale that runs east-west to the west. And to get access there, either need to put that box culvert in or or another small bridge over that, the box culverts have to be cheaper. But the only reason that needs to go is for that trail. So that's why we were asking. I can have, or I can get budget numbers put together for next meeting, so you guys can look at that. But I guess just so you guys have a heads up, we'll be bringing that up next meeting.
Was that not part of the original design, that, or the plans and stuff originally, that we didn't see a need for that, is that what's?
Was that on there, on the initial
So,
one?
well, there's an original preliminary plat, and there's two trails, there's a trail on the east side, and there's a trail on the west side. And then there's revised preliminary plat that pulled the trail off the east side and then just on the west side. And there's participation items on the trails, but there's no participation on that box culvert. We'll have all the details on that next month's meeting, but I think she just wanted to heads up, give them a little time to consider that.
And then there were a couple other things, just so you guys know, a clarification on the plans. There's a wet water quality basin on the west side of the pond that right now, unless it's gonna hinder the 100-year flood, 500-year flood elevations, we're suggesting not putting it in. It's gonna be a maintenance nightmare for city guys. We have it graded right now, so everything runs over it. It does not need to be put in there, as long as it's not gonna affect flood, any flood. There'll be a lot less maintenance for you guys when you take that over. And then there's revetment that was shown on Shive's redesign all the way along behind the back of those houses. That's all grown up in vegetation right now. Talking with city and us, as of right now, if we don't feel we need it, we're gonna talk to Shive about why that was put in there. But as most of you guys recall, Shive's design on the grid was way overkill as well. We want to make sure, get a second opinion that this is really needed. Because this is in the backyard of all its existing houses, and it's gonna get, we're gonna have to get up into their yards, tear up all their backyards to get us in. So it's not gonna be a good deal. So I'm gonna get a second opinion on that as well. Forgetting anything? Those are the three main items that we're discussing for next meeting. Thank you, guys.
That should be everything, since council motion on the letter of credit, so that should be everything on that item.
Okay. Moving on to item number 7. Consider resolution to enter into an engineering services agreement in the amount of $303,600 for the design and construction of engineering services for the realignment of Eagle View Drive, West Cemetery Road, and Highway 151 intersection and related utilities extensions.
This is the realignment of that intersection is getting moved. Right now, West Cemetery Road is east-west and runs kind of at an angle into the intersection of Highway 100. We're gonna realign that, so Eagle View is gonna come down and tie into the highway, and then West Cemetery Road will be angled up and tie into Eagle View. It's kind of whole project with the bridge project, they have to happen simultaneously to get both projects completed. The preliminary engineering estimate, this will be on the CIP as well, but is estimated about 1.7 million for the work. The bulk of it is on the east side of the bridge. There'll be a little bit along the west side, tying in the intersection with Coleman and West Cemetery Road. And then there's utility extension, sewer, water, in that area, along with it.
Said 1.7 million for the estimated cost of the total bridge project. Did I hear that?
That's separate of the bridge project.
Is that 1.7 with your fee, or that's just construction?
That's construction estimate. So with our fee, it'd be approximately 2 million.
So it's everything but the bridge?
The bridge and the bridge approaches, yeah. Bridge approaches, early estimates are around 1.7, I think. For the construction, the bridge is 1.4 to 1.5, and the approach is gonna be about 100,000 on each side, give or take.
Is that in the ballpark of what? I mean, this was a year ago, we were talking about it, but
Yeah, the city's got funding for the bridge of 1.5 million federal funding. So it'll cover most of the bridge project.
and the realignment with the streets. Is that about what came out your test back then? With,
I guess I haven't looked at that. I don't remember what that was listed on the CIP. So I haven't looked at that. It should be close in that range, right? But I don't have a specific number off the top of my head. Tom.
okay.
Any other questions for Shane? If not, I need a motion to adopt the resolution to enter into this engineering services agreement.
Well, second.
Roll call, please, Mary Ann, let's start.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 8, consider resolution to accept the work performed by Nelson Electric for the Parks Lighting Project, to approve the balancing change order and approve the final pay application. Looks like Don's gonna talk about that.
All right, so that remaining little bit of contract work, is complete. And completed for a few weeks. So we recommend closing this thing out. They are up there actually, we just finished actually doing warranty work already. There's a little component with that control system. Dollar might fridge that failed and they got a new part on from the supplier. I believe they got it installed, but. What getting control done? Yeah, so that's all done. Like I said, they already tapped into the warranty for a piece of that, but I believe that's been fixed. So. Questions, concerns before closing this thing out?
If not, and consider a resolution to accept the work performed by Nelson Electric.
All motion.
Second. Okay, roll call, Tom, you want to start?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to number 9. Consider resolution to approve pay application number 1 for MW Pole Construction for the water tower project in the amount of $246,525.
So what you're paying for is most of the interior work. There's just some light fixture replacement that they haven't completed yet on the inside of that tower. And at the time they submitted this payout, not all the blasting, primer coat were completed. You're paying for a majority of that on this payout too. As Tim mentioned earlier, there's 3 coats left on the exterior. Any questions?
Did all the, we get paint railings and
Yeah.
planters, all that stuff done, that's your tie offs or whatever. Yeah.
Anything else? If not, need a motion to consider the resolution for the pay application number 1 for MW Pole Construction. Mary Ann, or excuse me. We need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right, roll call, please. Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Number 10, discussion on possible motion concerning purchase of a wastewater sampler for the wastewater plant. Brian.
So there is, we have 2 samplers that are required, we have to take, certain amount of samples every week throughout the year. Samplers are take a composite sample, whether it's every half hour, every hour, depending on our programming. And it has to keep it within a certain amount of temperature. Well, we had two with the original plant, one had failed, a thermostat or something went out. Kevin bought one several years ago already. And now our second one of that same age has gone out. And in the meantime, we took the original one and tried to get it repaired. It took 9 months to find a thermostat that sort of works for it. And we can no longer get any parts for it. And right now it's not working absolutely correctly, but it's getting us by for what we need. So because of the price, we're coming to you to see if we can get this out of the budget we currently have and get it back up and running like we, because we'll be matching the one we already got as a replacement from the folks.
When we did the UV project, we bought a sampler with that project, and this is almost about the same cost, you know, as it was 5 years ago. So the sampler cost hasn't gone up. And the thermostats, it's a cooling unit, and it has to be maintained at 3 degrees C, plus or minus 1 degree. There's very few temperature thermostats that can hold that laboratory preciseness, and that is why part of it is so expensive. So you can't buy a refrigerator, doesn't work, won't maintain the temperature. And if they can't maintain the temperature, all the samples are rejected. Means if you can't send the samples in, Brian's gonna have a big problem with a lot of violations every week.
Seems like there's no choice. I mean, you gotta try to fix what you had and you had.
We tried, and, you know, they put a thermostat in there, they said it operates within about a 4 to 5 degree range, and that, you know, we're holding it. One day it was minus 1 degree C, next day it was 4 degrees C. So it's like, we're in the we're close to the range, we're getting by, but it won't be acceptable.
Even back when we fixed the previous one that took 9 months for us to get it, they were questioning if we were even gonna get it back then. But Ricky was able to fix it, get it back to us. We kept the other one for spare parts, knowing we're gonna have issues later, and now we're having those issues. Yeah, so.
On that same vein, is there any point in trying to buy a few critical spare parts considering the other one had?
No, not at this point. I mean, Nick knows as well as I do electronics, if you buy them and they sit in the shelf for 5 years, it's a crapshoot whether it's gonna work or not. So at that point, you 50-50 shot, and I don't see the investment of doing that. The samplers now are a little better made, they're all weather, they're made to be outdoors. They're a little higher quality than what they used to be.
They're a lot higher quality than those.
So,
It's like the cabinet that you saw me today was like that, made out of that plastic that make like little pipes toys.
so that's an actual outdoor all-weather cabinet.
So the previous one, I don't know how to describe it, looks like an old
Mini
piece
fridge.
refrigerator. Then you would maybe.
The dorm fridge.
Dorm fridge.
With a pump on top.
It's.
Kegerator.
Okay, great.
It's a kegerator, you know?
Look at, it actually kind of does look like a kegerator, that's probably the best description, I was like, oh my god, and it looks like a kegerator.
And pretty phone.
Which, I mean,
No, we haven't had too many replacements and repairs at the wastewater plant since I've been here, crossed my fingers, and, you know, this is just one of them things that, you know, the original samplers are probably at least 15 years old.
But they're older than that.
They could be, I wouldn't know for sure, but maybe from 2006, the age of the plant. And so they are actually due for replacement.
We'll continue to hold on to one as a backup in case something happens to the other ones, but we'll still look into what we can do to remedy having a heat issue down the road.
A motion to go with the hatch code for your recommendation, and if it's necessary, gotta have it.
I just said, oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 11, discussion and possible motion concerning the hiring committee's recommendation.
Nay.
In your packet, you have the recommendation to hire Brian Murda as the water wastewater supervisor, replacing Kevin, and then all the details surrounding that recommendation. Are there any questions about that?
So when you, and Brian, you're obviously fine, as the notes indicate, you're not worried about any percentage or money increase when we do next month, 2 months from now, or next couple months, whenever. Okay,
I make a motion to hire him.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving on to the money part of this, item number 12, consider the resolution to include and approve the employee compensation. You have that resolution in there that includes the updated salary. Cynthia, was that the only change?
Well, I removed, the people that aren't working for us anymore. But I didn't change anybody that's still working for us. Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, Tom, you want to start?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 13. You also have in your packet some updated job descriptions that typically takes place annually to make sure that we're keeping up with that, and then also anticipating item number 14 on the agenda. This isn't really for discussion yet, but I'll mention again that there's a potential of maybe adding an additional job description, but that's not part of the discussion this evening, and that would be perhaps a new opportunity in the water wastewater area, but not included in the current resolution. So consider a motion to adopt the resolution for the revised job.
Major changes, I didn't see anything highlighted in here. I mean, I read.
There was lots and lots of
I mean-
wording changes, but there was no job responsibility changes. So what we did was each department head and employees went through their own and corrected things, whether it be deletes, like on Lynn's, I think we deleted that he fill in for Chris when he was down in the building department. That doesn't happen. We don't do that. Some things that we're doing that weren't in the job descriptions, the employees added. So we didn't change what the people are doing for their job. We just made the job descriptions match and be accurate. And there was changes, lots of changes.
Even like water testing, you know, we used to check, test fluoride, and that was part of it, we had that added, so we haven't done that in years.
No.
So we got that worded out. There's a little.
There's
Trying to
a lot of
clean up
language
stuff.
to clean up.
level
Yes.
cleanup.
Not really a big change to responsibility.
No.
Nobody's doing something
I mean, it's
different.
pretty fascinating reading, but I was like.
Some of the descriptions of the
Yeah.
equipment that we use that have been updated.
Looking for yellow highlighted areas.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I'm-
Well, it
I'm
would have
I'm
been
spoiled by
yellow.
Yellow highlighted and bold and red, I'm like, wow, there's on number 3 and there's still no red or yellow.
Yeah, it would have been almost all.
It changed Phillips, so he now has the plow, he just doesn't go up yet.
Oh,
Okay,
you're hoping to sneak that.
bring it on. Bring on the snow. Bi-monthly reports that are due to the feds in the state, that we didn't have to report to the feds when I started, but I don't know, 3 years ago, the feds started one a monthly report on our housing. And,
Any other questions on this resolution? Okay,
I'll make a
No.
motion to approve.
Second.
all right. Roll call, Mary Ann, want to start? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to 14, since Brian is moving into Kevin's position now, we have an opportunity to hire a new Public Works 1 employee. We've got some information in the packet in that regard.
So I kind of, drafted these to match the last time, when we hired Leif. If you remember, we kept it open until fifth. We didn't set a deadline because the, labor market, you may or may not get some good.
It
Yeah.
was, we were scraping the bottom of the.
So, that's why I drafted it like that, but you can certainly decide not to do that approach if you want to give a deadline, but.
I would prefer not.
No deadline. There is one individual I know is gonna be unemployed soon. I won't say his name, but his initials are KS. If he's interested in the.
Want to start back in.
Fucking remote, Arkansas remote.
You work from home.
I would say, yeah, I know, considering last time, I would definitely say leave it in a similar position, leave it open. Now hopefully, there's more people out there this time, but,
And I didn't know if you wanted to try to set up the hiring committee at this time, yeah.
Yes, great. So the people that I talked to about the hiring committee are Lynn, Brian, Chris, Cynthia, and Nick has again accepted on behalf of the council. Yes, well, it'll be interesting to see the responses when we're heading into the holidays as well. That's kind of a,
You want a council alternate?
oh, any backups for Nick in case he can't.
when are we looking to?
It's open ended, I think, at this point, right?
If, I mean, we'll run it right away in the December fact. And we'll put it in the Gazette.
I'll do it as an alternate.
Okay. Okay, so now we need a motion to get the wheels turning.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Continuing on to number 15. Discussion on possible motion to revise the certification payroll increases. You have some information in the packet.
So, Brian had asked for this to be on the agenda. They're proposing to add grade 3 water certifications. And, so I asked all department heads to review their certifications and make any recommendations. And so Joe has proposed, Chris didn't have any changes for his, and I didn't have any changes for the city clerk's office. So the two Mark proposed, have changes in them. Bring them up if you want.
So, do you have any questions for the proposed changes? Brian is here.
That ties in with number 16 as well. Louis, where this all started, when we were talking about the well stuff, I had asked the ISG team, at what point with what we're doing for process, are we gonna be required to consider doing, or are we gonna have to do grade 3 water treatment or distribution or both? And she said that right now that there's nothing that says that it is required. It's basically flow based right now, so how much water we're running, pumping per daily. Once we hit a certain point, then we'll have to be there. She says definitely by the time you're ready to retire, you'll probably be there as far as what the projections for our usage will be as was part of the well process early on. So it got me thinking, they didn't think and didn't really know for sure if the actual biological treatment was gonna come up, because that's not been pursued or addressed within the water industry yet. She didn't know if it was gonna happen or not, and so my thought was just trying to be ahead of the game earlier on, at least for myself. And you know, as the days go by, we all know it's not as easy to learn things or get past testing and all that stuff. So I'm just trying to be proactive. And whether as part of talking about it, then we didn't really address the certifications to that point, because that's not what we stopped at what we were required to do. So I thought, well, now's probably the opportunity to talk about it the rest of the way, so we don't have to talk about it again, or you talk about it all together. But we won't be going all the way here for a very long time, way past my time, so. My recommendation was to just put it on paper that if we did the grade threes, if it would match the wastewater grade 3 at $1 per, because of the difficulty of getting that, and then the grade 4 we never talked about, and I know that's even harder yet, whether that was $1.50. That's negotiation, you guys can decide whatever you want, it's just a suggestion on where to start, at least to get that point done.
And so just for clarification, if we were adding it to the graph, there'd be $1 for water 3, $1 for wastewater 3, $1.50 for water 4, and $1.50 for wastewater 4. Is that what you're proposing?
There's two different ones. There's water treatment 3, water distribution 3.
And $1 at each?
Yes.
And then,
Well, that's what we did with the water tubes, you know, it was the same.
and then for 4, is there 2 waters?
Yes,
So it'd be $1, $1, $1, $1.50, $1.50, $1.50.
yes. Just to try and keep it simple. That
And
was-
you're looking to get the training and the certification for 3, but you're not asking for the pay raise.
That's not the reason why I was doing it, I just.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying you're waiting, what you're asking in the, what I read is, you wanna get the training going now. So you're ready to go when it becomes a requirement, and then that's when the associated raise would kick in.
Yeah, however you guys feel.
That's how I just read it, is they're looking for number 16, they're looking to get their certification. But they're not looking to get.
Well, remember, you guys have the authority to approve any advancement in a pay raise if it goes to, if he wants to get his grade 3 and comes in and says, I'd like to take the test. That's the grade 3, will I get the advancement with that? And you have the opportunity to say yes or no, but he also has the opportunity to do it on his own without your permission. And then he becomes marketable. You know, if you got nothing invested in his advancement, it's his choice, you know, it's not related, you know, if I wanted to get my grade 4, I could, if I paid for it myself, that was my choice. But you would have to approve any funds for advancement if you wanted, you know, the city to pay for that. The other thing I will say is in always everybody's best interest to have the most educated people you can, especially in this department. Because you are dealing with public safety. There's a lot of issues coming down the line that he needs to be aware of. And, having some more certified, highly trained people is, as you know, is a better thing. So.
The only thing I want to add to that, and I may be at fault here, but I agree, all this is needed on the wastewater and stuff. I may have missed something, I don't think, maybe since he did send an email, I may have been on vacation, missed something, but I never really seen that. I knew about what Brian was doing. But on all the other certifications, there's a lot of other certifications that, like we talked about, that back in 18, so. Be careful, you might get a lot more coming up.
And I just want to clarify, I think if you put the $1, $1, $1, $1.50, $1.50, $1.50 on the certification schedule, if they take if you approve them to take the class and they pass it, they get the certification. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, the statement is that you're not doing it for the dollar raise, or whatever raise, you're doing it to be proactive, but you're not gonna take the raise if you pass.
Well,
I never understood it that way.
How long does this process take? How long is the school? Like if you start the 3,
It can vary.
is it 6 months or 2 years or?
It's usually about a 2-day class. 2 days.
Oh,
but there's extra continuing education stuff, once we get to the grade 3, then you have to take extra continuing education stuff to keep certified too, then, so.
You need 20 hours, 20 hours every 2 years.
Not that it's,
And you have to work how many years to be able to even test for it?
yeah, I think we're past the point where I could have tested for it already, because I think it was the same as the wastewater one that I already got.
They may have that in here for how long it takes.
But here again, right now, it's technically not required, so that's why.
How far off are we from being required, the level of 2 to go to level 3? And you said
We don't, DNR,
It's hard to tell, it depends on how fast we grow, it depends on if we get industry in here that starts using more water here in a short time.
DNR regulates that.
Once we hit, million gallons a day. Daily usage, that's what our,
your reference was before you retire, may not happen before then, so I'm just trying to get an idea of how far off are we? I mean, I agree, being proactive,
right,
I do, but
So
proactive many years down the road is.
taking where your wage is going to be, and if you add those on it, is that even remotely close to what that pays in other communities for that? I mean, are we on the high end or the low end, or is
You're
it
probably,
you?
at that rate, at that pay range, you're probably in the middle of the road. My pay range right now for a grade 3 is at the higher end of the range. And, for a grade 4, it's anywhere from 90 to 150,000 a year.
Easy.
So,
120 is not a line.
but I mean, that's going through a, a bigger facility, whatever, so.
But like we talked about certificates, I just rattled off a sheet here back in 18, these are all possible certificates that you could do. So you gotta watch it. Daily and I don't remember who all was supposed to get together years ago about that. Here we are. And as you can see with some other departments, they're back again.
Brian, is this training on demand, or is there a schedule, certain dates on there?
I believe it's gonna have to be on demand. Last I looked up, there was nothing close by here that was scheduled. Soon. And it's not like we have to decide tonight either, I mean.
That was my next.
It's just an idea of trying to think about as we were doing the job description, but we had some boxes that were still blank on future, so I thought I would start the discussion.
So I had a question in that area that maybe should be something, further discussed in our budget discussion, especially since we don't have anyone to talk about the Parks and Rec recommend proposals this evening either.
He's called in. He texted me when he left, he said he called it, he was gonna call in.
Joe, are you on the phone?
I'm sorry, I am on the phone, yeah.
He is on the phone.
So in any case, it's up to the council whether you want to discuss this further this evening or wait for budget discussions in January.
Could you repeat that, please?
Joanne asked the council if they wanted to, discuss the certifications in more detail and take action tonight, or wait till budget.
Thank you.
Not that you're reason to decide something right now.
No, I'm okay. I mean, it adds a little to our budget discussion, but
I think we should definitely put 3, and I know 4 is probably not gonna be something that we see in, town's lifetime, but maybe mine, but we should probably have.
That you know
think
what I
about
did,
it,
you're like,
think about
zero
the schedule.
The only reason.
I think we should, the serious answer would be, I think we should consider getting them into training, but I don't think we should decide tonight what the compensation is. Like Lynn said, we have to be careful of everybody coming out with 1 million certifications, and some of them aren't quite as important as others.
Yeah, the hard part is drawing that line and.
Well, figuring out, I think, obviously, we want to keep people here, especially like Kevin said, the more certifications and training they have. I know it's also difficult to be super competitive with other larger communities. I remember the intern we had got 26 right out of the gate from Iowa City or Corville for wastewater and water 1.
He's over 30 now.
There you go.
So that's just food for thought for the council next. Is the long and short of that.
Quick question on that, what, Brandon, what certifications he had?
These twos across the board, right now.
He's listed as a public works foreman.
Yeah.
That's where I'm thinking there's an opportunity
So,
for a separate.
Part of this whole job description.
Job description.
Everybody's starting to ask, what do I do to help myself move up the ladder? And so I had some ideas and I worked out some things, but that's not been presented here yet. I
I
don't
feel
know.
like I talked about this 8 years.
If you guys wanna get together and visit on that, there may be some ideas that I got that you may wanna. We may want to figure out.
Well, and I would say changing job titles, like from a public works to public works two, can be discussed during the department head reviews and recommended for the next payroll resolution. I mean, it may or may not have an increase in wage or a change in job description, but it could be a change in title. I've done that with my staff.
You did that with me as well.
Yeah, Stacy started as, utility clerk and Tina as building administrator, office administrator.
Right.
And we found out with their certifications, if we want to get it, they've got to have the deputy clerk designation. And so, I mean, we just changed their titles. That's part of the department head responsibilities.
And then how Kevin got to be supervisor without going through the supervisor interviews.
Well, it wasn't a change in job, it was just a change in title. His responsibilities didn't change. And neither did Stacy's or Tina's when their title changed. I'm sorry, Joe, did you have something?
Yes, the Parks and Rec, certifications that I've included in there, 3 of them, I believe are already part of the job description or the qualifications. So I'm not sure that, although they could be part of the job description, I think if you're looking at somebody new coming in, and as I start looking at some sort of succession process for that position, I think if somebody comes in and has those certifications, they should be worth more than what you're offering at a base salary for somebody that doesn't. They already have those certifications. They already are more, they're worth more to the city than whatever it happens to be at that time. So other than the playground maintenance, which I think is a real certification that could be applied in my case, the rest of them are really just to help gauge where you're at for starting salary and where you're at for an offer for somebody to come in.
Thank you, Joe. Does the council have any other questions, or what would you like to do?
For now, discuss it at,
Okay,
You want it on the December agenda, or do you want to wait till January for actual budget? December, you'll have department head presentations.
When's a wage allocation or wage contract, or whatever you wanna call it?
Usually we discuss it in January, but we make it retroactive back to January 1. But I mean, we could certainly discuss it in December too, but usually you guys want to wait till this January.
so what do you think? Move to January?
I'm fine with that.
I'm done with that too.
Okay, so it'll be on the January 9th agenda.
Is that 15 and 16 then? On the agenda, or just 15?
I think we were still talking about
I think that
15.
was just 15.
We're just spent on 15.
I don't know if we actually discussed it. We did not discuss it. We want to send the 2 of them for training.
I think we can talk about that. You got your department head discussions next month?
Yes.
Yeah. Want to get that one in next month.
So number 16, you want to move to December? Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Joe, did you get that? Joe? The certifications, yes,
I did, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, item number 17, discussion and review of the sidewalk inspection software contract. Chris.
Didn't go real well. I had high hopes, but it did not go real well.
You got.
Let's see what Cynthia
It
pulls up.
looked like we had a ton of issues.
Oh.
I mean, is
You
that
would
for real?
That's to put it lightly. So here's the first thing they sent us, zoom in on that, Cynthia, that map.
I mean, it looked like. they did this
How
on the
do I
sidewalk.
do that?
It looks like
Keep zooming in.
it's drawing line.
Yeah, it looks like someone took a pencil and drew a colored line, exactly. Wasn't real happy with
I mean,
that.
this is all the new stuff, and that was in the old stuff.
Sent them an email, they did come back and provide us more detail. I guess I would say it does match their marketing materials. It does have the reports on the side, she zoomed in now, but I think overall it matches, there you go. It matches their marketing materials. I do have serious issues with all the sidewalks were scanned 3 to 4 times. A lot of them never show up on the map. All those sidewalks that don't show up on the map are the most degraded ones, the ones with the most problems. So to me, our paper maps are information and probably better than these. This looks nicer, presents nicer, but realistically, the information, you see all the empty space in there.
Right.
Tom, you'd asked me about in front of your house, that's one that I scanned 4 times, it doesn't show up on this map.
So it doesn't show it up if it's got a problem?
Right,
Then
it
it
doesn't
pick
even
it
show
up?
up that I scanned it, and they said, they had me, I think I talked about this last month. They had me reinstall their app on their equipment and all this stuff. You know, there's a cul-de-sac in that, on the right side there in black. We don't have a cul-de-sac that's shaped like that. You see the odd angles there, and yeah, so. To me, we go back to the paper maps or keep doing our paper maps, you know, hopefully the technology's gonna get better. Maybe this is something down the road we can go back on, but I wouldn't do it next year. I don't see the value in it. Most, like I say, most of our most challenging sidewalks aren't on here because their scanner didn't pick it up, or I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you on it.
So how do you attack that? You pick a street a week or every year, or what
Well, I just walk it by hand and then make hand notes on a map myself, which.
every year?
Yeah, I have every year, yeah. They're not, like I said, it doesn't present near as nice as this with the colored graphs and stuff, but this information. Like the trip hazard, it doesn't show you how high that trip hazard is. It just says there's a trip hazard there, the side slope doesn't meet, and it gives you a range in colors. Which is beneficial, but we already have that on the paper maps. My biggest complaint with this is I was hoping to be able to scan all that and have the information all on here, and
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
Looks like.
Had everything I walked showed up on here, I've been happy with it. But it didn't.
Is there any other companies out there?
There's another company, and maybe we want to investigate that next year, but you can go up to Heartland Heights. This is all brand new sidewalk in Heartland Heights. And all it captured.
Nick,
You scan out, hit the minus sign up there on the left.
part of Chris's problem is they're using a phone GPS, and which is, the accuracy on that is, you know, can be a block off.
There's Heartland Heights, that's all that was captured. It's part of Applewood, part of Bridgewood, you know. And I walked that 2 times, all brand new sidewalk,
It's green, yeah.
it's great, yeah, it's all brand new. You know, so.
What do you use for GIS mapping? Is it all?
We have a Trimble unit, we have an engineering grade unit for mapping our water and wastewater stuff. And your phone is not engineering grade.
No.
So, and that's what they're using, you know, their phone GPS, which is so subjective to location, our GPS locator can get down to roughly about 3 to 6 inches. So, big difference.
This was under your budget, even to ask, I remember you came to
Yeah,
council
I came,
asking, you didn't have to, but.
It was $3,500, our contract price, they were gonna charge us $700 for renting the phones. Decided to waive that since there was so much problem with the scanning
Oh,
equipment.
how generous of them.
Yeah, we discussed, do we pay them or not? I think at this point, they delivered what what was promised. We didn't get nearly the information we wanted out of it. You know, compared to the time put in, the amount of time I scanned repeatedly the same walks, and we still didn't get that information out here.
We were walking for a long time.
At one point, they told us that they were gonna enter that stuff by hand, but they never did. That I'm aware of, I don't.
So 3,500, they cut 700 off of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3,500 plus 700, they cut off. And the contract for this was 3,500, and then it was plus 700 to rent the phones.
What percentage would you say actually got put on those maps?
So what I walked,
Well, yeah, what you walked.
a
versus
fifth
actual-
maybe,
a fifth.
well, that's one pass, right? Most of this.
I
was
know you
walked
did
4
that.
times.
Multiple times.
Well, they kept telling me, you walk slower, walk slower. Well, at one point, you can only walk so slow.
Yeah.
Trying to give you meat eaters.
Yeah. So anyhow, you know, I did the trail all the way from, in front of Kate's place where it starts. It doesn't show up on there.
No wonder when my dog was barking.
The trail all the way to the pond out there in Meadow Oaks, again, doesn't show up on there, so I'm really not satisfied.
Part of me is like, if 20% of it showed up after 4 cars passes, and they get paid 20%.
I'm fine with whatever council wants to do with that. I've vented my
It'd be
frustrations to
one
this
thing if
company.
we were all a bunch of country bumpkins that have never seen a cell phone before, but making 4 passes and still only getting about 1/5 of it to show up with a fancy PowerPoint presentation. So the colors.
We haven't heard back from them in 3 weeks or more since I said that. Yeah.
Did you send back the phone?
Yeah, I sent all that back after the last, when they sent this.
So maybe I didn't understand Mike's question, but out of the percentage of sidewalks that you scan compared to what you have data up there is about 20%. Usable, and is it even usable data?
Yeah, it's usable. At first I didn't think it was, but I got on the phone and looking at it, it has the cross slopes and the ramp stuff, but.
So what you walked, there's 20% that is reported to where it's actually usable.
Do you think they're entering data as we speak, and that's why you haven't heard from them?
No,
No.
they're done.
Chris, the other thing that came up was, they had predicted how many miles in sidewalk we
Oh,
had.
yeah.
Mention that, Chris.
So originally, when we entered into the contract, and we're talking about going into the contract, you talking to the sales guy or the marketing guy, and he asked the population, I told me 3,400 or something. He said, well, you'll have way less than 5 miles of sidewalk. So for $3,500, you can do 5 miles. Well, within 3 days, they told me, oh, you're already over the mileage.
So is that maybe 5 miles right there?
They, do you remember, did you put the bill up there?
No,
Yeah, I think the bill was like almost $8,000, they said,
Because of the linear footage.
because we were so far over, yeah, we're over double mileage. And they, yeah. So,
have I seen that bill? Oh, I
well,
don't
I think it was a.
So you were over the mileage, but only some of it scanned, so we just pay them for what you actually scanned?
My first impulse was don't pay him anything, that's when I went to the mayor and said, I think this thing is bogus. That's when they sent the colored pencil drawing. And then they sent the other one over there, but I can say I'm not getting pressure from them, they're not sending emails saying when we get
So
paid.
how much do we owe these people?
The max, if I were you, would allocate would be $3,500, that was the original contract amount. And maybe sit on that until they see if they put any pressure on
That's
us.
what I was gonna.
And you said
suggest.
the 3,500, sorry, was with the $700.
No,
Yeah.
it's
So
700.
3,500, then it was plus 700, which would then conveniently waived. So, 35 times 20%, let's see, that's $700, that's what I'm thinking.
Everything will have to run.
If he hasn't responded to you in 3 weeks,
Then on.
I
Yeah.
mean, clearly, product is not
Doing
walk
what
us
it's
4
supposed to.
times and still only got that.
Where are they out of, Chris, this company?
Chicago, somewhere near Chicago.
And they couldn't send somebody in a car over here to help you or assist you or do anything?
To get an email back.
I almost said it a week, it was in 2024.
Well, if you don't pay a bill, then I guess maybe.
Yeah, that's,
it's urgent.
You gotta figure out your labor law for your multiple times for walking in there.
Maybe we should send them a bill.
Yeah, there you go.
at least for a new pair of shoes, huh?
I was gonna say, yeah, rehab on the old legs. You look
So,
like for sale after all that.
Just sit on it, see what comes.
See, I guess, yeah, I mean, I probably cap it at about 20%, we got about 20% usable data. After walking it 400% times.
Well, if I hear back from him, I'll let him know that I take it to council and see what he decided on.
Right, there's no motion on the agenda tonight, but good discussion. Number 18,
Yes.
discussion of possible sidewalk repairs needed.
Yes, so I would like a criteria from you guys of when do we fix sidewalks, other than complaints? At a half inch, at a 3/4 inch deviation?
Like when we send notices out,
What's that?
when we send notices for repair.
Yeah, I think we should have a standard. ADA compliance is a 1/4 inch, I think that's.
That's a little.
Yeah, that, you're gonna have
Ever.
the residents up in arms if we try something like that, but there should be. A threshold where we say, okay, at this point. Don't go to council with it, this is what council says from here forward.
What's Big
I don't
Brother, what's Big Brother up the road do, you know?
I know. Cedar Rapids, you mean? I have no idea.
Your current ordinance says that it takes a resolution of the council to order sidewalk repair work. So I think what Chris is suggesting is that you revise your ordinance, that it wouldn't take him coming here.
I don't think so.
If he was out walking and you determine the criteria, we put that in an ordinance, that he can just
Right,
start the process.
right, 3/4 inch.
So you're looking basically to establish a floor and then enable you to go out and say, hey, you need to do this, and then we set up timelines for how long they have to do it.
A construction
Before,
season,
yeah, before we give it all, do it.
Right.
Yes.
And then build.
right.
Sidewalk, where do you?
No, vertical separation, trip hazard, that's what we get the complaints on, that's.
What about when they crack and? Yeah,
Well, if it's busting up and it has that vertical separation, that's gonna make people trip, yes, that's that 3/4 inch I'm talking about. If it's just cracked and doesn't look as nice. Not saying you guys shouldn't order that fixed, I'm saying. That's not what I'm asking, you to trip hazard,
yeah, I'm not
the
looking.
3/4 inch. Not that you couldn't order repairs on other situations, broken up or whatever the case may be, that's something that probably should come to you guys for a decision.
Or even your ordering could be, put it in a new area that doesn't have it, or,
Something like
make
that.
a, crosswalk handicap, or, more major work would
Right.
still come here as a resolution.
We probably want those in the building department report, I'm guessing.
What's that? Oh, if we're ordering them, yeah, I'd rather put it right in with the notices.
On most of the complaints, what kind of deviation or height separation is it usually?
Yeah, it's usually up around an inch when I get a complaint on it, so that's why I keep thinking that 3/4 inch if we get on it before someone trips.
That's your recommendation, 3/4.
That's mine, I think that's,
How many we're gonna have at 3/4 of an inch though?
I would say you probably have maybe 6 or 8 out there. Now, there's some, they do whatever they want.
As long as they get it under 3/4 of an
I
inch.
can't hear me, sorry.
As long as we get it under.
Right,
3/4.
get rid of the trip hazard.
Somebody hire somebody to grind it if you wanted to.
Whatever,
I just had mine lifted just
They could bring it, lift it.
6 weeks ago, they lifted it.
And there's quite a few residents out there doing their own without city interfering.
Sure.
Don't think that there isn't, but there's a few out there I know that fix.
We have one that we found out this week that was created because of us as the city staff years ago. That settled from a water repair that we need to fix for the people because we caused it probably 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah, and that may be one of the 8 I'm talking about.
Yeah.
6 or 8, however many are out there.
Definitely, they trip hazard.
And I may not catch them all the first time around. We may get it like this 7/8 of an inch.
Does
a year
our-
after this, but
Does our ordinance list the methods of remediating, like the,
no, but we
we
don't
should
have,
probably,
I'll write that ordinance at 3/4 inch. Get rid of the
and
trim.
then how you can fix it, you know,
What,
and how they can fix it.
Right.
Not just necessarily replace, but repair.
right, whatever they wanna do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the one that we have, I think we're gonna try to lift it because our concrete looks good. It's just uneven now.
So if they try to fix it, what's acceptable?
Under 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
As long as it's under 3/4 of an inch, I think when anything goes out.
I mean, that was what I was just gonna say, is, I mean, yeah,
I don't
write it
know.
up, it's basically, whichever means, you know, necessary within reason to reduce it below the threshold. That's all.
Yeah, if they hire somebody to lift it, they're gonna put it right back up to perfect.
Yeah,
Well,
That's-
I guess that's how I'll write it, is you need to get it back to flat. Whether it be by grinding, whether it be by lifting it, repouring it, whatever, we're not gonna let them just get it to 5/8 and walk away, right?
And
5/8, that's fine.
you probably have to, you know, some doesn't use like cold patch or something like that, you know what I mean? If it's-
Then it's gonna come right out. And you
That's what I'm saying,
know,
it's gotta be cement.
with the salt on sidewalks and the shoveling and the, you know, that's not gonna.
I don't know if all that's written in an ordinance or not, but you might wanna.
Well, this would be a new ordinance, an additional to within the sidewalk.
Just think about all that when you're writing it.
Yeah, and nothing's perfect,
Sure.
it might need tweaked, but that's what we'll be looking for. When we do say it's at 3/4, you get it back to 0. However, you do that,
Using white materials or whatever.
yeah.
Is that reasonable?
Are you fine with that? You wanna,
I feel like that might be a little unreasonable
What time?
to get it exactly perfect.
Well, I don't think most people are probably gonna hire, maybe I'm talking crazy, most people I think are probably gonna hire out to do that.
Yeah.
They're not
The
gonna,
rip out replace, I'm doing.
I would think most people would either lift or grind. Depending on, if it's all broken up, sure, you're gonna tear it out and replace it, you know, but if it's in pretty good, there's quite a few of them out there, they're in good shape. They just missed a line and they're right at the lot line. So this house was built, they poured it, and this house poured it, well, they never tied them together. What happens is they go up and down.
Like, grinded enough, is there like a,
So if it's tipped like you're saying, Nick, they can grind that new panel that's up
Yeah.
and flat with the one before it, and then you're back to 0.
what is there,
Right.
a rule as far as
Side
grade, yeah, so.
Yeah, but you
Like, you
never,
put a 45 bevel on it, it's still gonna be a trip hazard, you know?
right, and that's the homeowner that does it themselves, there's some of them out there that are at the 45 level.
Even more like a tree root.
That's nothing we're gonna approve, this ordinance is in, because they'll have to get a right away permit to do it, they already have to.
So if they replace it, do they have to come to new standard?
Well, yeah, anytime you replace it. And- But we don't require, in the old developments where the sidewalks are 4 foot, they remain 4 foot. Except for through the driveway, then we make it 5 foot for the turnaround. None of that'll change, what we're looking for is the trip hazards to go away.
I'll be all right with you moving forward that way and getting, everyone coming to us and building department, they can fix it. Well, for notified all your report,
You think 3/4 inch or
I think that's reasonable.
pretty significant misalignment,
3/4 is pretty good.
yeah.
Maybe start with that, and then between now and when you have it ready, they can go out and start measuring sidewalks for you.
no resolutions or permit and
Field trip?
perpetuity until we change our mind, so we just, we're ready for you, maybe enough or too much.
Yeah, if they start working on that and bring it back to.
At 3/4,
Yeah, no motion needed, just guidance to Chris.
wonderful. Thank you, council.
All right, number 19 is to set a public hearing date only for rezoning request for the annexed property along Lithia Road and 76th Avenue. That's the newly annexed area. This is just to set the public hearing date for next meeting, Cynthia, December
12th.
12th.
Second.
Roll call, please, huh?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 20. Also a public hearing date to revise the city of Fairfax zoning code. This is just to set a public hearing date also for December 14th.
12th.
Well, sorry.
We'll just talk about the multi-dwellings or multi-primary structures.
Chris says yes.
Yeah. The amount of primary buildings on a single lot, whether it be residential, commercial, or industrial. It's done, P and Z's done with that.
So
Second.
Roll call, Marianne. Aye.
I,
Aye.
Thank you. Number 21. Discussion concerning industrial zoned area concerns. Marianne asked that this be placed on the agenda. To let her express her concerns.
So now that we're getting all the industrial growth out south of town, it looks like we probably, maybe need to take a look at what our actual zoning allows and maybe fine tune some of that, because some of it's pretty, open-ended or generic, where I think we probably need to make some changes or add some wording, to these. Right now, there isn't anything that, the way it's written, it talks immediately about like, you can't do any of these things that are hazardous, obnoxious, whatever, but then the next thing I heard was that you can't necessarily deny something for that. You have to go after people after the fact under a nuisance. So I just feel like we need to, before we have someone come to us that wants to put something in that area that maybe isn't called out in one or the other, and they're trying to say it fits in one, that maybe we need to be a little proactive about what we're gonna allow out there.
What, Marianne, remind me, was this because of the unnamed company that does grinding that kind of brought this to a head?
Yeah, so we originally, when they brought the region, Trevor brought the region people in, the thing that we looked at was, is this the process where you actually grind the windmill blades? And they said no, and that it's after that we're in the process of it.
so the primary grinding was done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think moving forward, they're under the impression that zoning would actually allow, there again, because of the recycling language that's in some of this, that it would actually allow for them to do that type of process out there. That they could actually do the grinding itself because it's recycling. Even though I would say that grinding and crushing and doing those types of things would be more of a heavy industrial use, not a light industrial use. I just don't think, just because we think something, if it's not called out or clarified, it doesn't necessarily. I don't want to have somebody come here, and then ask for something because we found out that you can't deny based on those.
And we did actually, were approached with questions regarding a company that does grinding.
Yeah, the one that's grinding the blade.
Right.
Considering building out there.
So, yes, so we actually have received the
It would all be
inquiry.
indoors. It would not be outside. They're not just stored outside.
They're doing secondary grinding, they're taking the first pass
No.
and then further separating it.
That's what
Wait. Right now, what's happening out there, the stuff is ground when it comes.
Yeah.
What they're proposing possibly doing is building another facility to do the grinding on site. The blades would come in 20-foot lengths. And they would be indoors, they would grind on site. But because it's indoors, I would consider that light industrial unless we made changes.
Well, and this affects their whole rezoning request. Because their discussions with us have been focused on light industrial, and that's what they're requesting. If we suddenly change this criteria, it's gonna change the information that we need to provide to them.
So does that type of grinding, whether it's inside or not, fit in this? Cause the way our zoning reads, it's not allowed if it's inside a building, is it allowed or not? And I don't wanna get into this, well, I don't think it should be in that type of zoning, and they come forward and we say, oh, well, we've gotta let them do it because.
I agree, Mary, this is the right time to have the conversation.
Yeah. And these have been, I think, we really haven't made any changes to these because we didn't have any reason to,
Right.
but considering all the stuff that's going on, I think we do. When you look at this, I don't know if there's anything that allows or prohibits, other than the noise and the dust. The very first thing, it says that you can't do any of those things. But then we can't do that, but then they think should fit in that zoning.
Well, with the indoor grinding facility, there's complete dust control in the building, so there's no dust escaping. Into
I
that.
assume they have to have like EPA air permits and all of that to even.
I'm assuming too.
And then assuming you have to have dust collectors like what they have.
Yeah, they have the dust.
Air and glass doors because you're having dust and that's disposal.
Exactly.
So your concern, Mary Ann, is noise in that area, and in general, we need to have maybe a little bit more tighter description on noise and dust.
Yes, because the only reason I know is because when we were talking to them originally, we didn't know what procedure or process they were looking at doing. So I actually looked at this process, what it looks like when they crush and all that stuff, and it is not nice. It's not pretty. And there again, where is it gonna be on that parcel? How close to houses is it gonna be?
Yeah.
We have no control over that. If it's zoned right, they could plop it anywhere they want, but.
Well, we haven't had a submittal yet, but where the preliminary talks were, the next parcel to the east of where the blade facility is now. Would be east of the Trevero and.
Basically, it's the warehouse, then regen, and
And
then
then
further
further
east
back,
be the.
Cause when they
crushing.
came, we were told, no, this is not what we're doing, that is not the
And
process.
it's not, they
That is-
haven't made a submittal yet.
Technically, they.
But that's what they said when they wanted to put that facility in, and now all of a sudden, everything they told us they were not gonna do, now they're gonna do that.
Well, some other points, it isn't the same people, first of all, it's not.
Well, but
yeah.
the process,
It's the same process, but Regen is not the one doing the grinding. This
It's a
is
different
Regen's, who supplies Regen with the grinding.
It's very semantic argument. I know what you're talking about, because yes, regen, like Chris said, they're not doing any of the grinding. So that proposal that they submitted, that building they put, didn't have anything that we inquired.
It's legit, right?
Now they're coming with another company saying, well, since this is part of the chain, the conveyor, now we'll just bring the blades in and grind them so we don't have to ship them in. We can just transfer them from, point A to point B.
and it makes sense, I get it, but again, is that something, I don't want heavy industrial use in that area. And does that fit this, or does it not fit that? I mean, it's all well and good, but if the neighbors say, oh my God, all I can hear all night is thump, 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 thump,
Chris, where would you say that proposal would go, in which number?
I don't know, I haven't looked at it because we don't have a submittal for it.
I don't see anything that jumps out to me that
Isn't
would
there
fit it.
recycling stuff in there somewhere?
I want to say isn't there some kind of verbiage that just talks about recycling?
I mean,
Number 17, storage, manufacture, compounding, assembly, and or treatment of materials or merchandise derived from previously prepared materials.
So what does
That's what
previously
we wrote.
prepared materials mean?
I don't know.
So if they've already cut up the blade into smaller pieces, does that mean it's previously prepared and now it fits into that?
I mean, that becomes an argument because a windmill blade is previously prepared.
Yeah, but you got somebody that's previously manufactured
And
this
now
item.
you're- And now you're treating
So
those.
that's what I'm saying, I think we need to look at
Needs to be
some
dialed in
logistics
a little
that,
better.
if not just for this, but for anything else that comes in.
Well, that goes with the noise, you know, as we were starting to do the tower, we had a meeting together, it's like, what's the noise times allowed for them to
There's
work?
nothing in our code.
There's nothing, so that kind of needs to be added, revisited.
Well, it's just,
Figure
it's
it
a
out.
little confusing because the very first paragraph says you can't do anything that would be, you know, a nuisance, like all these things. And then, but yet if they meet this criteria, then you just ignore the nuisance part of it.
Well, I guess you have to decide who decides what constitutes a nuisance.
And then once it's built, it's too late, you know.
What's the vicinity of any residence or public
You
building?
know, how close is too close? I mean,
The closest house to this site is gonna be that Dwight Schutzley, is that his name?
Yep.
He would be the closest one. And that's probably, well, that's a quarter mile section.
Probably a half mile or 3/4 mile.
Right.
That's what's
I
right.
mean, it's pretty significant far away, but I'm fine with rewriting this in any way that the council sees fit. Know that if we rewrite this, they're probably gonna come back and ask for heavy industrial. Which is
So are
the
these
reason.
notes, Mary Ann, in here where you have like C2 and C1?
That means-
Cross that, that's you, I didn't know who it's.
When I'm talking to, showing it to people in their office, I
And
think.
I don't know if, and there again, this is stuff that's so old, and I think that's part of the problem, it's very generic. Do we need to look at what Cedar Rapids, you know, some of the other places have allowed in light industrial, commercial light industrial heavy? Maybe some of these things need to be shifted.
Yeah.
We've just never had any experience with heavy or light, so I just don't wanna wait until we have an issue and then say, gosh. Cause once you allow it, then you're kind of screwed.
I would suggest, thoughts that Mary Ann has, send that to P and Z to get ideas from the surrounding communities and come up with an idea. I mean, kind of have an idea of what she's talking about and come up with, you know, some other cities, what they have and come up with some general ideas.
Now, to me, heavy
Big project.
industrial. What's defined under heavy industrial, to me seems more manufacturing side of things. So you want to put certain things that are currently under light industrial, which I think honestly, this grinding company or building would fall, I think, under light industrial. But how would you want to put it to fall under heavy industrial, which based on what I've read, is more on the manufacturer side of things. I don't know if this would qualify as manufacturing, where you're breaking down blades and building one and then sending that to a secondary building for further breaking down the base components.
Well, grinding, windmill blade is gonna be any quieter than grain milling, I think that much.
If you have a chance to look at the process, pull it up and look at it and you can see what I'm talking about.
When you look at
So they're huge mechanical grinders and they just run and it's,
Shredders or whatever.
yeah, like huge. And it's very loud, it's very dusty, it's very, which is why when they came the first time, I was like, absolutely not, because I looked and I don't want any part of that over here. And now lo and behold, here we come. And I'm
They
just like,
haven't actually came yet.
but we don't want them to come and then just deny it based on. I mean, people have to live here and I get, you know, they're running a business, but I don't owe them anything as opposed to people that live here. So I don't wanna see that type of thing going in over there. I don't think that's what we envisioned when we started that area, was that we wanted certain types of businesses and we didn't want anything that would be detrimental to the neighborhoods or the people or.
Yeah, I just looked up a wind turbine blade crashing, I see what you're.
Maybe part of your discussion has decibel limits.
Yeah,
set
that's,
with it or something.
Yeah.
Exterior decibel.
you know, you can't operate 24 hours a day, you know, we have, like Mary, you can't do anything noisy after 10 o'clock. You you know,
I
there's.
think that
there's
would
time.
be good, if you're concerned about that, I know, if you're worried that what we have, or they can just simply come and ask it to be rezoned heavy industrial, we move something like that to within that zoning requirement, then you can worry about certain operating times with noise restrictions or decibel limits, whoever mentioned that.
Well, and if it's light industrial, we don't have to say we're going to allow heavy industrial. If that's something we don't want in our community, just because we have it, doesn't mean we think that's the right place for it. So, I mean, these are just things we need to,
I think decibel limits I think we should probably look at decibel limits at certain distances is a good, look at.
Decimal limits at the right of way.
Yeah.
Public land.
I mean, that's one thing to look at. I assume the two biggest concerns of yours are noise and dust control.
exactly. I'm just like, is it something I want next to my house? No.
But
No, but
remember,
how-
there's no way that's gonna be next to.
But how close is too close? So if they say it's not gonna be an issue and it's not, fine, but what if it is?
Okay, I
Then what do
agree
you
with
do?
you, Mary.
But then,
Ann,
you know, how do
but
you
we
know
can't-
what that
We
is?
can't just say, we don't want you here. We need to say, at the right of way, your decibel limits need to be below
That is,
X, whatever that number is.
that is
And then
correct.
again, dust, I don't think you can bring up dust if it's an indoor facility with dust collectors in it.
Well, I think you just say they have to have dust mitigation,
Right,
something.
which
with
we do,
the-
that's all.
With
in
the
building
AP,
code stuff.
but it's handled by Lynn County or.
So the criteria on dust is gonna be, is it inside or out? Because if it's inside, it's controlled, I don't think you can put the kibosh on it. You know
No,
what
but I
I'm saying?
think we can
That's-
say that it has to meet EPA standards. It
Right.
has to be controlled by
Excellent.
X whoever, but
Air pollution is controlled by Lynn County. The decibel thing would have to be at the right of way adjacent to the property, closest point to the right of way, I would say. At the decibel limit, whatever.
But anyway, I just feel like we need to look at this before we get too far down the road and then say, gosh, we shouldn't have done that.
You got some guidance, Chris?
Yeah, I think I got some guidance on that. There was one other, lighting was the other thing you wanted in the packet. I was told to put in the packet.
Well, they all kind of go hand in hand, all three
That's
things.
addressed in SUDAS. I don't know if you want to go any further with that. I put that in the packet for you.
Yeah, I just think as long as we're looking at those types of things, we should.
Make sure it's not lit up like a Christmas tree.
Granted, we did
Which
that
that's
ourselves
already
with
out
the.
there. We already have that.
Yeah, might be
Part,
our own internal issues with that.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing is that you got full cutoff lenses, so you're not broadcasting like horizontally out.
Direction.
We'd have a couple spots that maybe, like the north and south entrance sign. And we have had flagpole lights that may be there in violation, and I'm not sure.
But anyway, we've just.
So the things
done
I'm
this in the
gonna make
past.
notes for the P and Z is going to be the, you kind of mentioned the time limits. You know, not 24 hours a day. Any further guidance on that?
You might want to just research surrounding communities, what they've got for their ordinances too.
I think the time limit is a good one, you know, but in theory, if you have a certain decibel requirement at the right of way.
Marion does it, but I think it's only in residential areas. So if you're somewhere in it above the residential area, you can't make noise if it.
And we don't allow industrial to abut.
I was gonna say, it's not gonna.
Pretending, so
That's not
they
an,
just don't
the
can't make
scratch the
noise.
time limit thing.
after 10.
We'd probably have to scratch the time limit thing. We can at least look at it, but I doubt anything be moved forward with that.
So you may need a time limit thing like we talked earlier, just for construction work.
So that's a
Yours is
whole,
like,
that's a whole different issue.
you can't mow your grass, like they consider any kind of thing, a motor, anything, like a lawnmower, any of those kinds of things after 10 o'clock. Police will come and tell you to be
Well,
quiet.
we did receive a complaint about mowing at, what was it, Chris, 4 AM?
Yeah, but that's a whole different issue. This topic is industrial.
Anyway,
Really looking
But
for.
yeah, I think a good one to start at is decibel. at right of way, because, if the two biggest concerns are dust control, but it's all done internally with dust collectors and mitigation, then the biggest one, that hurdle that we have is sound.
And so, to take that a step further, if we have them come and do a submittal, I guess, to me, you would send me to the existing site to measure that up
Yeah,
before we entertain the building permit for the new facility here. Correct? I don't see how else you can do it. Take their word for it.
And how would you measure it, Chris?
We'd have to get a tester, we'd have to buy it. Budget.
and talk to the department head.
Well, and they could be building the new building to better standards than their existing site. You can't go on the
They could,
existing.
an understanding that there's gonna have to be some sound deadening in there if
Yeah.
they want this to.
The way I understand that their existing site is not indoors. I don't know that for sure.
Where they want to, or where
Where
they.
they're doing
now.
their now, it's not indoors, that's,
Okay.
I'm guessing why they're looking for a new facility.
So how do you do a decibel limit before it's even built?
You can.
Yeah.
You can't, you
Well,
gotta.
you can measure where they're doing it now and see what it might be below the threshold now.
You would go there and test
It
it.
wasn't very close, so it's not very far away.
Well,
But I
that's
don't
this
think you
instance
can
right
leave
here, but I mean,
the
I'm
two
talking other instances.
That's what we have to do, if that's what council wants to do, that's what we have to do.
Well, you wouldn't give them a,
Permanent.
oh,
occupancy.
yeah, occupancy, pull their occupancy if they're in violation of.
Then it's too late, then they sue you because you've shut them down.
Yeah, I agree with Mary Ann.
I think we just, it doesn't necessarily have to be this particular, it could be any manufacturing. What is an acceptable level given the proximity to people? You know, I think that's what we need to look at.
Right,
How
but you're
about
not
this?
gonna know that till it's built. You just said that's too late.
No, it is too late, but I'm saying we come up with what's an acceptable noise
Right,
level. Whether it's this or any other, what type of manufacturing, how noisy is too noisy?
Can we use it on the UP?
that's right.
And you just change that
You
ordinance.
set
to
the
that.
standard.
Yeah.
And then when do you enforce it? You can't enforce it until it's built. And you
And
test
then
it.
they turn around and sue you.
Well, if
So-
it's written in here that that's not acceptable and they build something that exceeds that, then.
We'll put it right on the application. What's your decibel level you're running at?
Right,
So
but
if
I'm
you're-
Money
saying,
on the
yeah.
application,
you
then you're
can't
gonna have to go in
test,
there and soundproof that building more.
right,
That's
but
all
you
there is to it.
can't test it till it's built
Yeah.
and they're running.
I
But
don't
we
think
can,
it'd be
we
an
can
issue.
set the limit.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at.
You go
Yeah,
wall.
like you said, putting out an application, making them say what it is, and then basically locking them into, some sort of committed decibel level, giving us, protection if they violate it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just gotta insulate the building.
Which that, I mean, as long as that gets us where we need to be, that's.
But I think we can also, is there any ones that you had, Mary Ann, that you wanted to switch? I saw Chris's notes on changing some language, moving some things from light industrial to C1, C2. Is there anything specifically you're
Do you want
looking
any
for?
heavy industrial? That's the question.
Well, I mean,
Number 17, is that what you would want moved to heavy industrial,
And I
which
would,
is the,
That's the one we put the regen site under.
is 17.
17 in that site has been approved.
see, and I think that's the problem is it's just so,
it's general, it needs to be reworded.
it's very, I don't wanna say vague, but it's.
You wanna add a new line for like recycling or the type of recycling or breakdown of material?
Cause I mean, this allows for any kind of storage, any kind of manufacturing, any kind of compounding. Like how do you know?
So anytime you get into your hazardous storage, I believe that's gonna be show up in your heavy, your paints, solvents.
I just think it's it's an odd thing to have included in here. Everything else is very straightforward. It doesn't allow this, it doesn't allow this. This one is just very vague. So is it any kind of storage, any kind of manufacturer? You can't take exception. And that's why I kind of would like to look at how other people address that. Maybe that's something that doesn't belong in here and it should be more specific.
I work in Taylor zoning every day and I can tell you, it's the exact same pages that you're looking at right there.
Well,
So-
I don't
Gotta be
think
this
Halo
one.
is where
That'd
we
be
want
like
to
compared to
aspire to.
I'd say more like Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Rapids has several different districts of just light industrial, several districts of heavy industrial.
But I mean, maybe we need to look at all their different districts of light industrial, and we need to separate those out to see all those different levels, which ones do we want and which ones do we not want? You know, maybe the first two levels are acceptable, maybe their second two are not.
Well,
But that's what I'm saying, we need to look at those before we have. a
maybe we
problem.
can narrow down right now, and what don't you want? I think that'll make it
Well,
simple.
I think until you look at those types of uses, because I could sit here for 10 days and say stuff and they could come forward with something, I'd be like, oh, I missed that. You know, that's what I'm saying, let's look at what Cedar Rapids has in their levels and say, oh, because they obviously have a criteria and say, okay, this makes sense, this makes sense. You know, maybe we just
Cedar Rapids
need,
zoning staff.
well,
I also
I'm
the
just-
building department
I'm just
produces
concerned
bids.
about.
Well, I mean, your stuff, you don't have to.
If they might have 4 levels, maybe the first 2 is what we need and the other 2 are more heavy and we don't want those in our life, those
I
become
think that's the
heavy.
easy way to start, figure out what you don't want, and then.
But I think that would be a good place to
Like,
start.
do you wanna put a PMX?
Yeah. And according to this, it's any kind of manufacturing, and I don't know if there's,
Well, to Mary Ann's point, maybe Cedar Rapids has more itemized, broke out a little more different
more
uses.
information, yeah.
That ours is a little more generic.
Why reinvent the wheel if they already have a wheel we can look at?
Right, we don't have the knowledge base to
No.
write it complete. Let's
Yeah.
use their.
Let's look at theirs, and that would be a great starting point, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm tired of looking at budget.
I'd say.
First needs to separate that.
Okay,
This will look on his face, he got pale there.
all right. Moving on. All right, the next item number 22, discussion and possible motion about establishing a glass recycling program. That is my topic. So this got started a few months ago. Solid Waste Agency came and talked to us about a variety of things, and they just casually mentioned that there were some grants out there for glass recycling containers. And also some residents have commented that they would like to see that happen, so we've been gathering some information and have come up with a proposal now. And we have an information packet. This would be a partnership with Fairfax and Republic Services and the Lynn County Solid Waste Agency. And then Solid Waste Agency partners with Ripple Glass in Kansas City to transport the glass to be recycled into beer bottles or insulation. So none of this would end up in the landfill. Republic has been real receptive to this. At first we were looking at like third-party providers of a container, and I have a cost in here that would be like an $8,300 cost. Republic says that they'll provide a container and they'll customize it, because we were looking at, there were some pictures in your packet of some examples of how you can control the glass being deposited so that people don't just drive by and just throw a whole bag of who knows what
Yeah.
into the container, where they actually have to get out of their vehicle and put it in a round hole, all holes around, but a hole for the container. So that would help, and they said they would do that. The only cost to us would be for the initial delivery and then per haul to the solid waste agency. So if you look under the city-owned container options, that would be if we went with a third-party vendor of the container, and then we could pursue a grant opportunity. As far as cost to the residents, there's approximately 1,107 households currently that receive our recycling services. And I've got some numbers projected there for if they only pick them 4 times a year. It would amount to about 10 cents a month per household 6 pickups a year would be a little more expensive, about 14 cents a month per household. The post location would be here in the city hall parking lot, probably the far corner. In other zoning districts, fencing would be required, but in conservation and public use, that would not be required. So that is the proposal. Question?
Did the Republic tell you what the average contaminant rate is on that? I know when Lynn County gives us their annual report, they talk about the percentage of recyclables that ends up in the trash. So glass containers, if they're not cleaned out, they contaminate the other glass containers and they throw them away. Did they say anything about cleaning requirements on the glass or?
That would be a question for the solid waste agency. So no, we didn't have that discussion. So that's a good question. So is there any that they can't use, in other words, because it's been contaminated?
You know, so right, it's all glass,
Pardon me?
brown, green, white, whatever they're clear.
Right, no distinction.
And would we be penalized, say if somebody's, since it's not gonna be fenced in, somebody uses it and puts trash in it? Would we get like fined or get a warning or something because of that?
Another good question.
The other thing I can see, they leave their other trash in there.
There you go, that's what, yeah.
You know, it could be an issue, like, oh, y'all take this, I'm leaving this here anyway. Is that what you do now?
Yeah.
Looking at your picture, that hole was cut out, it's cut a hole, it's only about 8 big.
Right.
You can still fill a lot of things.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could tell them how big to make the hole, since they're gonna build it for us. Also, they're gonna be lockable, so they can't just lift the lid and ignore the hole.
The one picture shows a sliding lid, and I have seen those years ago where they had those and the lid is still open, so
Yeah, we're not suggesting.
Probably, you end up with a camera on it before it's over.
That's what I was just thinking, we just probably need to put up a security camera so that, and make sure it's posted so people don't.
You get a good one, so that we can.
Iowa City does it, and they have several locations, like in the park, and so I doubt that they have cameras everywhere they place theirs.
Yeah.
But, and I was recently in Kansas City, and everywhere I turned, they had these glass recycling dumpsters, and they had them painted all beautiful colors and
So
artwork on them, and
they're gonna give us a container more or less,
for free,
For free.
but they would own it.
and then, okay,
And they just charge us when they.
charge us
dump
to
it.
haul it, and they charge us to deliver the first batch.
Yeah, they charge us to deliver it, and then they would charge per haul. And we would tell them when we wanted it to haul.
So you're calculating out that $300 per haul across all the households at 10 cents a month per quarter.
Right, so my recommendation down the proposal would be potentially we could, you know, include some labor in there, 25 cents a month per household. Or whatever you thought.
Do they ever get smell problems with the ones that are out there?
Pardon me?
Do they ever have smell issues with the ones that are out there? I don't know. So if people don't clean their stuff, they throw it in there and then they start rotting.
Well, that kind of falls into Mike's question as to what happens if they don't clean them.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've seen semis over at the recycling shed when they have
Oh, yeah.
glass trailers
Oh, yeah.
and the fluid that leaks out of it.
Oh, hey,
That place stinks.
The people that are gonna take the tire and drive
I've-
their recyclables down or
I
anything.
saw
I would think you'd be
semi-trailer.
taking care of pretty good.
Is it worth it to put something in the facts, for example? We talked, I think at last budget meeting about, you had a proposal to raise the utility rate or something. Fund amount was in that fund and we cut it back. I don't know if it was this.
The water.
Was it water?
The water jet fee,
Yeah,
I've been recommending 17 for
for a while.
at least 3 budgets, and it's 13.50.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
yeah.
The cost for this doesn't really, concern me. I think the two biggest, my biggest concerns are abuse, smell, and, people looking to get compensated for running over crushed glass in the parking lot, getting a slow leak in their tire, something like that. Those would be my only concerns.
Do we have to enter into a contract with them? Or if we don't like it, we gonna move it?
Didn't mention that to me, but
No,
I,
I asked.
you're asking,
We
they've
can
been
fix
very helpful. I could tell they didn't really want us to go with a third-party provider of the dumpster, so they've been kind of, whatever we ask for, they're gonna do for us. But I'll ask.
But I don't remember, Joanne, does Republic do it somewhere else now?
I wanna say yes, but I can't remember the name of this community that they do it for.
I mean, it might be good to get that and talk to
Sure.
the community.
Yeah, and see where it's at and take a look at it.
Right,
Yeah, because when we met with, you're talking about when we met with Bluestem that day.
Yeah,
I thought she said that they had it going in several communities.
that Republic.
Was that, no, that was Bluestem we met with that day.
right, that they accept it at
They
their
accept it at the
facility.
site.
They don't collect it.
They don't collect, it. You have to haul it to them.
It's Republic, that's the,
I'm sorry, what?
Republic, our provider, yeah.
I got you.
Are there any
Okay.
locations in Lynn County or Cedar Rapids area that collects glasses and there's one in town? Or am I imagining that?
I have no idea.
There used to be, I can't tell you where, but they used to be.
I thought there was one in town, but I haven't checked.
I think Waste Management still takes it third. Or Cedar Rapids very good. You got sorted.
Yeah,
Yeah, the pictures I showed you, one example was from Iowa City and the other one was from Dubuque. So,
Yeah,
and I've got a contact at Iowa City that I could ask about some of these concerns too,
yeah,
to see
I
what
think the
they.
big questions are cleanliness level required of the glass, smell, liability, and issues.
And if we're in a contract with them, we're,
Okay,
even if you get.
or how easy it is to back out and have them leave away.
If you got locations of other companies, it may not hurt to look at the other companies, see the issues that surround it. Don't know.
other companies that
So
provide,
the companies that haven't, that we haven't looked at, but if there's other ones in the community, Iowa City or somewhere else that have it through another company, it might be curious to see.
you mean the dumpster itself?
Yeah, just to see.
Oh, yeah, I
drive
have
by.
talked to, that's the cost that I've got shown here, because I did talk to
Well, just
them.
to drive by to see how it's set up, how
Oh.
it's laid out. If there is a smell issue, if there is a.
Well, they're down in Iowa City, so,
Well, I would say it's pretty smelly.
Yeah, I don't think.
yeah.
That's mostly the populace, not the car.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting a road trip that
Well,
council goes back?
And inside there is like, no.
It's not in my.
So they have 5 gallon bucket next to their Kirby and they collect it.
What was that?
Cedar Rapids collects it at next to your Kirby, you put it in a 5 gallon bucket and they collect it.
You gotta have it sorted.
When I first moved to Walford, they did that, and then they dumped it in the same garbage truck with everything else.
I know.
Right, this is probably the most cost effective method,
Public does it at.
having a central location.
When I was a kid, at Walford, they used to have a recycling trailer, if you will. You had newspaper, cardboard, tin cans, glass, and I don't remember, there was an issue over there. You had to slide the doors open and throw your stuff in.
It wasn't bad.
People are gonna take the time to actually clean their stuff and recycle it, or.
They usually
throw
carry
trash in there.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
All right. So. Good questions.
I mean, they're not gonna throw dirty glass.
Keep
Someone
working
can
on
throw junk in there.
it. Okay, so we won't take any action on that tonight, other than I will. Do some further work on your questions.
Maybe if I could build a glass truck.
They do crush glasses, make sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I've ever heard for, besides recycling bottles, they crush it down in sand for, what's the word of product.
Okay. Moving on, number 23, resolution for the city to join the Iowa Public Agency Invest Trust, this is Cynthia.
Right, so, with the, interest rates going up, we, got some CDs at Walford Bank, and we've got some at Fairfax State Savings Bank. But I got to thinking about this is, more, you can do it a daily sweep account, it's really the same rates, at least right now, the quotes that I got. But it gives the city a lot more liquidity, options. And this is a, state recommended public agency investment trust, on the up and up, approved by the Iowa Code. if you approve this, then they don't have any minimum. We can, have a lot invested and then we can, the next month have nothing and then the next month go back into it for a little bit, but you can come in and out of it as you want. You just have to approve this once and then it gives us the option. I just think, it would give us an easy ability to capture some of these higher interest rates right now.
Any questions for Cynthia on that?
That seems too good to be true. I mean.
I know.
I'm trying to think what's wrong with that.
I know,
Quick access and.
yeah. We can set the limit.
I assume they allow you to do like, you can do laddered CDs where you have like a 3 month, not a year, just auto renewing.
You can, or, you know, their sweep accounts or their money market accounts, their liquid accounts are really the same rates that we're getting from our local banks for CDs. But unless their CD rate is significantly higher, I would not recommend tying it up for a certain time, you know, if we're gonna get the same rate, leave it liquid, but. And we can like tell them, we wanna leave $1 million in the account, and, you know, sweep everything else on a daily basis. Or you could say, leave $5 in the account, sweep everything else. It, you know, it's whatever we set up.
And,
Many communities already use it.
and any fees associated with this that we,
That's a good question. I don't think so, but I will check on that before we would put any money into it.
Withdrawals or whatever, transactions.
Yeah, well, you know, if we did put it in a CD and wanted to cash it early, of course, there's gonna be a penalty then.
Daily maintenance, you're saying, if you're sweeping it
Yeah,
out.
I don't think there is, no.
There is.
Yeah. But I will verify that. It's my understanding that there's not,
Yeah, it seems where there's not a minimum required, because where are they making their money?
Yeah.
because they have so many communities
pulled
and
together.
schools and, yeah.
Cause it's all a giant pyramid.
Counties, you know, all, if you think about all the public funds,
Pyramid, though. Wow.
state funds that, you know, the state owes the cities, they invest in this.
So we would need to figure out if there's a minimum amount, how often those.
There's not a minimum, I know that, right?
But I mean, if there's a minimum amount that we want to keep in there, like, they don't require that you do that, but
Right.
say, for example, we say, we want you to keep a $5,000 balance at all times. We only want you to sweep once a week, or like.
You
who's
can,
gonna
you
make-
can do that, but as of right now, if you approve this, according to the investment policy, I have the ability to set that. But if you don't want that, if you want to change the investment policy, we can do that. Like the
That's
CDs,
what
I
I'm saying.
said,
Who decides how often and what you do and when you do it and those kinds of things?
how's that curve, the way that.
That's
Right.
what I'm asking, yeah.
Yep.
So do you want her to present her thoughts on that before you approve it, or?
well, I guess, I would want to check on the fees and get you some more absolute details before I do that. And I wouldn't put any funds in there until we're all clear what we're gonna do.
I'd probably just verify the fees and stuff like that, and then after we get that information, the other ones want the records specifically to do otherwise, I'd be interested in doing something like that. Be consolidating the ones from Walford and Fairfax State into this.
Right, the ones from Walford already renewed, and the ones from Fairfax State Savings Bank renew the 5th of December, I
Do
think.
you have a 60-day window to cancel those auto renewals?
Not very long, it's
Um,
like a week or.
10 days, I
10
think, but I would
days,
do it,
yeah.
you know, right away.
You don't have a
I
lot
just
of
know on
time.
some CDs, you have like a 60-day grace period, like site, I actually didn't want that renewed, I forgot, so you have to give it back.
I think it's 10 days.
And I think if they renew it, the interest rate is substantially different than necessarily what your introductory rate.
I was actually just looking at CDs today, unrelated, but most of the time periods, it's between, the ones that I was looking at are between like 5.45 to 5.7, so there's not a huge variation, but obviously the larger dollar amount you have in it, the more that helps.
Oh, and there's some limitations for public funds for maturity and that kind of thing. You know, like, when the ones came due at Walford, first one I went there, their special was for 7 months. But they had to write, because it was public funds, they had to write them up at 6 months. And then when they came due, but I got the same rate, and city got the same rate. When, they came due, they had a money market special that I said, well, I think, you know, that'd be a good thing if you keep it liquid and it's still the same rate. Well, then they said they couldn't do that for public funds. Where this entity has many options for public funds, because that's the only money they work with.
Wonderful.
So do you want to make a motion to participate, and then you'll get info before we put any money in, so I can get the the account set up and stuff, or you just don't want to take any action?
I'm like getting the ball rolling. I'll
Me
make a
too.
motion to get the ball rolling.
I'll second.
Roll call, please, starting with Tom.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to number 24. Consider resolution to enter into an agreement with Catalyst for the city's website, also confused.
Okay, so, our, website has, for several years, has been hosted by GovOffice. And, they not only supply the software for us to design and, edit the website, but they also post it. Well, this Catalyst acquired GovOffice. And, so we need to sign an agreement with them. What they're telling all the cities is that GovOffice did not change their rates for years, and they didn't. It was very, inexpensive and a good deal. And Catalyst doesn't have that same view. So, what we're paying 1,000 for now, they want to work up to 3,500. And, what they have, proposed to do is to, do a 3-year agreement that at the, for the 4th year, then we'd be up to the 3,500, so it'd be 1,700, and this would be as of July of 24, our current one goes to until then. And then the 23, and then the 29, and then up to the 3,500. And they have, some enhancements that GovOffice didn't have. You know, details to follow on that, if we want to change the look or the, some options on our website that's available, and that would be included in those costs.
Cindy, I have a question.
Yes,
Would this have any effect on who our current, credit card supplier is?
no. Because that's just a link to the credit card site from our website. They're not requiring us,
You still have that?
right, they're not requiring us to change to any specific credit card provider.
And as I understand it, since I work with it, that credit card supplier is still in a transition period, and we're not really sure day to day who our rep is or who helps them.
Yeah, I think you work through the IV3 people, and the rest of us are still on pace because they haven't come up with a nice way to meet all of our needs yet. But that's a separate, those are separate companies.
Yeah, there's a gray area that, well, this isn't really the part of it, but there's a gray area there between what Kate does and what the other company does, and I know we got lost in the stuff on here just a little bit ago, so anyway. That was the reason my question.
So anyway, I'm suggesting that we sign this 3-year agreement with Catalyst. There are other providers out there. Am I interested in going to a whole new company and completely doing a rebuild of the website? No, I'm not, especially if it's here. But, I mean, we can if we have to, but
What are you paying now for a year?
just over 1,000. And it has been that way for years.
Any questions for Cynthia?
So what happens if we don't find them?
We have something like
For 3 or 4 years.
I'm sorry, what, Joe?
Is there an agreement we have to sign and we have to stay with them for 3 or 4 years, or is it just?
3
year?
3 years, but I think it talks about we can do a cancellation within, was it 60 days notice? Something like that. Yeah, 60 days.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that says if it's not
Oh.
signed within 60 days, okay. Yeah, you're signing up for 3 years. They are wanting to, I mean, we can tell them we're not gonna do it till next spring, but they're going through all their customer base and contacting everybody and wanting them to, you know, set up a contract.
So if we do this, you don't have any support, basically is what happens.
If we don't do this,
Yeah, you don't.
they'll stop hosting come
Because it's
July.
both
design and hosting,
It's
right?
Yes, yes.
The only thing I would say is I want, because I don't know those numbers, I want to see what the cost of this, that we have run our website and hosting. I'm just curious what their cost is. I don't think I'm gonna get an answer here tonight, but,
I know, it's not like I think it's crazy expensive even what they're asking for, but
Did you say you think it is, or you?
no,
I don't think it's, yeah, I don't think it's crazy.
crazy expensive, but.
I think $1,000 is cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we were getting a good deal for a long time. Yeah.
I think it's great money grab for them.
So what would you like to do?
Well, it sounds like we don't have to make a decision right away, so if you wanna gather information, like.
I can do this. If we can bring it up, I hate doing this, but we have 60 days to cancel. I understand, or no, not cancel.
Not signed.
Not sign.
Yeah.
I almost want to bring it to December just because I want to see what the cost is.
Just
What's
to-
in my head, I feel. I want to make sure before I say yes to that, so,
So move to December?
yes, please.
We're gonna have a busy December. Okay. That takes us down to item number 25. Discussion and possible motion whether to respond to paid personal position statements made in the newsletter and in what format. So this can be a two-part motion. First is, should the topic be placed on the December agenda? And if placed on a December agenda, where on the agenda should it appear? And what information should be included? Discussion will be limited to those two items.
My opinion is information out to the residents, so residents can make educated decisions. That's my only reason to have it, and a suggestion I would have is to put it in the agenda, the approval of the consent agenda. Just to put it on there. It's not open, we don't discuss it, it's just listing out. Whatever a topic could be, it could be anything, it could be. And it could, you know, it can. Be one page, it can be multiple things. But it's just to put it out there for people to have an idea of what's. I get asked questions all the time.
Oh, we're starting to stray a little bit.
I think it should be on next month's agenda, both as a bullet point and a prepared statement read, summarizing those, and then no discussion on the topic afterwards. That way it can be referenced in YouTube, on the YouTube channel as well, instead of someone digging into the archives trying to find the presented information.
So you're more like, a timeline with factual information?
Yeah. No summation.
No opinions, no comments,
A red summation of those facts.
just facts.
So I think they're both saying that, but they're disagreeing on where on the agenda it should appear.
Mike, or Tom's not saying read it.
He-
Tom's not saying read it.
He's saying
Oh,
just
right.
Put it.
information in the packet, I'm saying information in the packet plus a red summation, so people can reference it on YouTube.
So they can actually hear it.
Yeah,
But what if there's pictures or documents?
I don't think we need to do
Just maybe a summary of what?
yeah, I think the pictures that can be provided, but I think a summary, and we can work that out between now and then, a summary of the information, yeah, a summary of like maybe the photos, and I won't read the details, but a summary of maybe some of the exhibits.
How could you do that to put them both on in the agenda? Could you put that in the consent agenda and then it could just be read?
It would have to be outside. consent. It would have to be
Did you
outside.
just approve the consent agenda? You can't. really-
Yeah.
You have to remove the item from the consent agenda in order to discuss it.
Yeah. Item.
Well, it can't be in the consent agenda. It has to be somewhere else.
Well, it depends on
We don't want to talk about that.
what we want to do. That's the two questions. Should the topic be placed on the December agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
If placed on the agenda, where on the agenda should it appear and what information should be included?
The beginning before we start talking about budgets and department head presentations.
Well, we're still.
Before thinking.
Yeah.
So you're saying, for example, after engineering, after the last.
As the first
after
item.
reports, right after reports. all done.
After report.
And should it be read or just included on the agenda? Can it be both?
Yes.
Well, it has to be on the agenda.
Yes.
But on the
It would be
agenda and read and then-
So basically it'd be like, for example, bullet point 6, so if you take tonight's.
Similar to how it's.
Yeah, if you take tonight's agenda, it would be after approval of consent agenda and the reports, and then the next bullet point, number 6, would be this. And no discussion on the topic after it's read. I think that's important as well.
Just a statement
Yes,
of facts.
yes.
Can you do that if it's a agenda item on?
Who's gonna read the agenda item?
What's that?
If it's an agenda item, can't you, is it open for discussion or not?
The council does not have to
Don't
allow
have to.
discussion on any agenda topic unless it's a public hearing. You can choose to, but you're not
Okay.
required to.
And you all saw the attorney's opinion. And what course of action should be taken. So you saw that. Don't hear a motion.
So no discussion.
Well, I'll make a motion then, and we can revise this if need be. It would be, the motion would be to respond, to have it at the next meeting. To have a information packet provided with links to exhibits and factual information. Then to have a statement of summation of those facts and exhibits read aloud. With no discussion on the matter afterwards.
Information only.
Yep.
Who prepares the statement?
Who prepares the statement, it would probably be put together by. Cynthia, and then read aloud, probably.
Right.
Probably read aloud by Joanne.
It'll be put together by several people and reviewed by the attorney is what my suggestion.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
with review.
This is on a go forward
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah.
This isn't just this is just going in. getting information out there, factual information. Correct. That's the reason for this, is factual information.
So there's my motion. Anybody want to change?
So
it?
Mike and Tom willing to work together to, identify what items should be included and to prepare the statement?
Yeah, I mean, Cynthia will do it, and Tom and I can look at it and provide notes and then have it reviewed by,
I think a lot of that information is already compiled
yeah, it's taking it spread across several things and bringing it
together.
into one, agenda topic. I'm good with helping with that.
So there's a motion on the floor.
And I will second his.
So can you say that again? What's your?
I can't remember all of that. So it is a agenda topic item
For
that,
December.
for December, that will have a compilation of exhibits and summations of, the facts involved. Then there will be a summary statement read aloud of that, those exhibits and then compiled information with no discussion afterwards. Then we all send to him by,
Motion on the floor,
I seconded his motion.
all in favor?
aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
You are allowed to say no, you know.
Oh, yeah. And then
Okay.
with that, was there any talk, can that happen again in our, or where advertising?
That's the second thing we're talking about, I believe.
Well, that's not on the
It's not
agenda
really
for
present.
tonight.
Do we bring that up at a later meeting?
Mary Ann has requested it be part of the December.
Let's just
meeting.
keep cramming
You're
things into
welcome.
December.
You're welcome. I feel like we need to address
Address
that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed
What-
that part.
What can and cannot be allowed moving forward.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Needs to-
It's gonna be very hard to word
Sure.
to stop what happened.
I know.
I don't think you're gonna come up with anything
Well,
legal.
we can talk about
We'll try.
Yeah. Yeah, good luck.
We'll try.
Don't know unless you try, right?
yeah,
So if you got some
Okay.
phrases you want to say, get it out there, like this next.
Let's move on to number 26. Discussion. Year 25 budget topics and schedule. Cynthia has provided a lot of information, including a summary of some of the potential budget impacts from House File 718 and a couple of other things. So you may want to start with that. Well, the schedule you want to start with, but look at the summary first, and then she's provided a lot of presentations that she and I have been attending. I'll let her finish what else she's put in there.
Well, I think everybody's aware of the budget schedule. As of right now, we're planning on the budget special on January 22nd. So you'd have your regular January 9th meeting, and then the budget special on January 22nd. I believe that's a Monday. And then with the new regulations, we have to have a special to have a hearing about this new tax statement. And it has to be timed after the county mails the statement, which has to be by March 20th. They're suggesting don't have it before the 25th. So I'm suggesting Tuesday, the 26th. And on that special can only be the hearing, no other business. And then you adjourn, and there has to be at least 15 minutes minimum between if you want to have another special that same night. And we're going to have to, in order to set the hearing date for our April meeting on the full budget. Because you can't do that until you have the hearing on the tax statement. And, yeah. That's just complying with the new rules. So you would have two specials on March 26th. So please check your schedule. You know, we could do the 25th, we could do the 27th, but The problem is, if we don't move the April meeting, if we leave it April 9th, if you start counting back to the publication when it's gotta be in the Gazette, I have to send the full budget hearing notice to the Gazette by March 26th, which would be the same night that you're setting the hearing. So the timeline is really tight unless we move the April meeting later in the month. Thank you, state legislature. So please, one, make sure you're available January 22nd, but I think at least a majority responded yes. And then let me know if you're available March 26th. Does anyone want me to go through the budget info summary?
No.
Can we move that to the December?
It will be. In December.
I think the reality is the road to damnation is paved with good intentions, and now we're gonna be trying to figure out how to get up, back up to 8.
That's a good summary.
That's a short.
Yeah, and I think we are in a really good position compared to some other communities, especially even ones that I'm dealing with, working with, so. I think our problems will be much less than a lot of communities. So if you read through that and you have questions, call Joanne.
We're going through this pain together.
You can call me and
We'll be spreading it around.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so you have a list of bills to be paid, and item number 27. Is there a motion to do that? Unless you have questions, of course.
And
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I,
Number 28, opportunity for citizens not on the agenda.
I need to say something. And it's taken me a while. I've actually had to write this down. This is, I'm an extemporaneous speaker, big words for late at night. This deals with the election. I'm gonna be addressing the elephant in the room. The smear letter that was sent out to numerous houses during this election. I, as well as my legal counsel, know who did it. The investigators who looked into it know who did it. And I was told not to name names. I'm sorry that in your heart, you felt the need to go that low to try to sway and get votes. I do have to admonish you for sending my dad one of those letters on the anniversary of my mom's death. That's not cool at all. To conclude, at least I can my campaign with integrity. That is what the people of Fairfax expect, not smearing. And you call yourself in the letter a proud Fairfaxian and a Christian. That's pretty loaded. To quote Admiral Yamamoto, for those who don't know, was the man that planned Pearl Harbor. He quoted, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with terrible resolve. I'm now a lot stronger now than I was before those letters were sent out, so thank you." That's all I have to say.
Do we have any other citizens that would like to speak? Oh, I see one. Although he's not a citizen.
You guys,
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose we'll have to let him talk.
Well, I appreciate that. Kevin Stenson, city employee, currently still. As you know, January 9th was gonna be my last day. Well, that kind of moved up to, December 22nd. So, and that's mostly, about January 10th, we're moving to Arkansas. So, that being said, one thing I want to say, I feel real good that I had the opportunity to train my replacement. He's got a lot to learn, long way to go, and he has no idea how hard this job is going to really be. But I wish him all the best, and your support, I'm sure he'll do very well. Second of all, I want to thank the council, the mayor, previous mayors, previous council for allowing me to work for the community. Hope you think my efforts were worth it. So in that case, I want to also thank the public works staff and everybody I worked with. And Cynthia, being the two of us, type A personalities, you know where this is going. But the only thing that come out of all our discussions is the best outcome the city could ever get. So that being said, I think I only have 13 days left to back over.
After it's taking a little bit of vacation.
I think it's still 9.
Yeah.
Well, I told you, tonight my retirement, I actually got a resignation letter set up. So,
I don't accept.
but most of December, from December 4th to the 20th, I'm actually gonna be in Arkansas, so I don't have many days left here. So I'll be here the 21st and 22nd of December. That's about it. So, thank you.
That's when we're gonna have your.
Thank you, Kevin.
retirement party.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of. Anyone else like to speak? Kind of a hard act to follow, but if anyone else would like to. Okay, thank you. Number 29, mayor's comments. Nothing to add. First comments.
MLA, they always have it after the election. Dan and Joanne are signed up. There's a session in Iowa City, then online, and in Cedar Rapids. And then the fourth one is actually at the league conference in Sioux City. But, so if anyone else wants to see information on it, I have 2 other flyers here. Or if you want me to register you, let me know.
Why don't you give them a brief description of that in case they've forgotten what it is?
Oh, so it, is a comprehensive, so part 1 talks about effective city councils, budget and finance, municipal operations. Part 2 covers city budget. You got elected, now what? Basics of planning and zoning. Part 3 covers economic development, community betterment, and acting strategically. And then, of course, at the Iowa League, there's lots and lots of different sessions that you can choose from. The one in Iowa City is Saturday, December 9th, 10 to 2. Part 2 is online, and if you're not available to do the 3 virtual sessions live, they'll send you the link if you're registered, and you can watch them at your convenience. And then part 3 is Saturday, April 6th in Cedar Rapids, and that's 10 to 2 also on a Saturday.
And if you attend all 3, you receive a certification, correct?
I think you have to do the league conference. Think you have to do all
And the league
4.
conference?
Yeah, I think.
So that when I submit my.
You beat me to it.
I'm gonna say, so now I can submit my request for certification bonus in my pay.
Get $1.
Well, that's okay with me, because I've attended every year, so I'll be submitting for that.
Okay,
Let's see,
anything else?
December meeting, just, reminder to the department heads for your budget proposals. Be sure you get me your information by the deadline the week before, because I'll have lots of information to compile for that meeting. And then, of course, we're closed next Thursday and Friday, and everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Oh, and at the December one, if you want to bring treats, we usually try to have some treats at the December meeting.
Kevin will be back.
He hears the word treats, he comes.
Here's birthday.
Okay, unless someone else has something, I need a motion for it to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
All right. Congratulations, Brian. Yeah, glad to be getting my job.